Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday night. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good day. Hope the work week got off to a good start. If I can please ask that you like and share the live, it would be much appreciated. Gifts for the panelists are always welcome. If you would like to support the channel, that is my Cash App. Hope you're all doing very, very well. We have a lot to kind of cover off on coming off of last weekend as we get into this week. February is soon upon us. It's hard to believe. Also, if you want to spam the chat with things that will catch our friends' attention, like Trump 2024 or MAGA, let's try to get a bunch of people in here tonight if we can. Please like and share to your favorite friends and foe. Would really appreciate that. Thank you, mods, for everyone, for all you do. Much appreciated. A couple stories I kind of wanted to cover off on before we get too far into this. As of earlier this afternoon, there was a subpoena that was issued by the Department of Justice to the Sergeant of Arms at the House. Hey, Bunny, how are you? By the way, Bunny did a killer job on her first live last night, so there'll be more to come. Good for you, friend. Well done. Subpoena, yes, for the Sergeant of Arms in the House of Representatives. His name is William McFarland, and he's going to oblige. So the process would be to inform the Speaker of the House of the subpoena. It was read by the clerk today. And so this is the announcement. This is to notify you formally pursuant to Rule 8 of the House of Representatives that the office of the Sergeant at Arms for the House has been served with a grand jury subpoena for documents issued by the U.S. Department of Justice. After consulting with the Office of General Counsel, I have determined that compliance with the subpoena is consistent with the rights and privileges of the House. So this is interesting because you'll recall not too long ago that Scott Perry, who's a congressman, after battling with through the legal channels, he was told to give up his phone records. And in some of the briefings filed by Jack Smith and others, there was reference to what's referred to as the speech and debate clause. The speech and debate clause only applies to members of Congress. Basically, what it does is it protects them from speech and debate being held against them. It's already been determined that speech and debate clause will not apply, now depending on who that is and depending on what topics are discussed. So the reason I think this is important is you can start to see the confluence of a variety of things. So you've got Scott Perry's cell phone. You've got other references and indictments to other members of Congress potentially. And now you've got the Sergeant of Arms being subpoenaed. So all these things are sort of coming together. So we'll have to track that. That's very interesting. Also, so there's been talk about who might be on Donald Trump's short list of VP candidates. Now, a lot of people are saying that because of everything that he's done with Roe and the gutting of women's rights and human rights in general, that he would likely pick a woman. I'm not so sure because I think that would take attention away from him, and he won't like that, especially if it's a woman. So Elise Stefanik's name has been run around in circles. She basically replaced Liz Cheney in House leadership, in Republican leadership. So there's an interesting back and forth between those. As House of Petty says, the girls are fighting. So there was a statement that Elise Stefanik had made on her Twitter or X or whatever we want to call it, right after J6. And this is what she said. She called it the violence anti-American and tragic. And I quote, "This is truly a tragic day for America. I fully condemn the dangerous violence and destruction that occurred today at the United States Capitol. Americans have a constitutional right to protest and freedom of speech, but violence in any form is absolutely unacceptable and anti-American. The perpetrators of this un-American violence and destruction must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law." Of course, now, Ms. Stefanik, now that she's risen in the ranks of GOP politics and is on the short list, she is now referring to those same people that she called that she said deserve to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. She's now calling them hostages. Liz Cheney found that old tweet because Elise Stefanik has taken it down, and now Liz is running with it. So hats off to Liz, because I think that's just great. But the big news that I wanted to share is E. Jean Carroll, fresh off receiving $83 million from the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing insurrectionist fraudster. She's going to use that money to start a fund for women who have been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. And that is going to get under his skin like nothing else. And very likely, he will defame her again. Yeah, he will defame her again because he just can't keep his mouth shut. It'll cause him, here's the quote, it'll cause him, she says, she's vowed to use the money on something, quote, Donald Trump hates. If it'll cause him pain for me to give money to certain things, that's my intent. She will create a fund for women who've been sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. That's really, really interesting. So that's what's going on. We are still waiting for a decision from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals regarding presidential immunity. That's going to sort of influence a lot of conversations that are going on. Since he wasn't, okay, Stephen, why don't you jump in the box, Stephen Haley? Jump in the box. You don't have enough followers. Too bad that he wasn't. Again, I don't care what you think, Stephen Haley. I will take the word of the court and a jury and a judge and others that said, oh yeah, he's guilty of not only sexual assault, but he defamed her on multiple occasions. So he's $83 million later. This week, we're also expecting a decision by Judge Engoron in the civil fraud trial against she lied. Okay. The civil fraud trial against Donald Trump and the Trump Organization. Letitia James is asking for $370 million. There's reporting that Trump is cash poor, whatever that means in billionaire terms, but through depositions and through testimony during that fraud trial, he claimed to have roughly $400 million liquid, whatever that means. It's not like he keeps his money, in a drawer. Who the fuck knows? Maybe he does. But if that decision does come down, $370 million, you've now got $80 million in this lawsuit that's that he's going to have to pay. So he's going to have to start liquidating, pretty obviously. So it isn't going so well in the land of Trump these days. It isn't going so well. So yeah, so he'll start liquidating. We'll see. So what's behind me is interesting. I saw this and I thought it was very interesting. This is a CBS News YouGov poll. This took place back in October, and they asked Trump voters what they tell you is true. 71% of Trump voters said they believe what Donald Trump tells them to be true. It's one thing to see conservative media figures on here. It's one thing to see religious leaders on here, but it's more than your friends and family. So if you're a Trump supporter, according to this, again, it's just a survey, right? That you're more likely to believe Trump's own words than your friends and your family. We talk about this a lot, right, you guys? We talk about this all the time. It's about where you get your information from. We know that Trump is a pathological liar, has lied 35,000 times that we know of, and yet people still will choose to believe him. We know that they'll believe conservative media figures to the tune of, 56% believe conservative media figures. Fox got sued, lost, settled. Smartmatic is about to be sued, or Smartmatic is about to sue Fox as well, because that lawsuit can proceed. That one, I think, is $2.7 billion. And what's Fox's defense in that case? Because they've already admitted to, spreading misinformation and lies. So what's their defense? We'll see. So again, like and share, guys. Would really appreciate that. Let's jump in for a. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
I don't know if you could tell, but it's Side Hustle Chris. I changed my name on this.
Hey, brother. How are you? I couldn't tell.
Good. Yeah, I figured since I wasn't doing the side hustle teaching at this point and doing more dog walking, conservatives, I might as well change the name for a little bit. So I'm glad you brought this conversation up, because this is exactly an argument I had with somebody today on TikTok. They post all these memes about all these indictments are wrong and E. Jean Carroll lied and it's hearsay. And then you say to them, okay, well, that means you must love the audio of him showing classified information. You must love that because it's not hearsay. And they're like, no, that didn't happen. The media doctored that. I'm like, So can he just say he can't do anything wrong? That's all you got to say.
71% apparently will
Right.
believe whatever he says, right?
They don't come out and just say that. Go and listen. The McDonald's Messiah just can't do anything wrong. He's above the law. You know.
McDonald's Messiah. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. I like that
I've
one.
been using that for about a year now. I love it because he is the McDonald's Messiah. He loves
He
McDonald's and
is.
he's the Messiah. So, but yeah, they just can't come out and say, you know what, he just can't do anything wrong. It's it's made up or it never happened. Or
Yeah,
it's
the one thing about the one thing about this survey that really stood out to me, though, Chris, was the fact that people who are identify as Trump voters are more inclined to believe what he says over their own family members, over their own friends. Like, again, nobody likes to be told that they're in a cult, but I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else you would describe it other than that.
well, that's true. And here's the thing, though, it didn't just start with him, though, because
No.
I start thinking about. I met my in-laws back in '09, and love my in-laws, love them to death. But we
Good.
live in a very they live in a very red area, and they are diehard Republicans. And I would sit there, and they would talk about Michelle Obama is destroying America because she's forcing schools to have better lunches. Okay. And we got to go get our bullets because Obama is making them stop manufacturing bullets. Like that's not true either.
Right.
And back then I was naive to politics as much as anybody back then. Because it wasn't mainstream as much as it is now. And I couldn't
True.
understand why they were thinking that because it wasn't true. Or at work, where I worked at that point, people were freaking out because we got a $10 a paycheck stimulus to help the economy, and that's going to make us broke. Or the housing market, there we got that 10% back if you bought a new house, which I used, and I bought furniture and all this other stuff, and they were freaking out about that, and I couldn't understand. I didn't realize it was a political thing because I wasn't keen to the right and left at that point. And so it started back then. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse, though, because
Mm-hmm.
now it's not because I hate them. It's because everybody's telling me I should hate them.
Right. I mean, and we've had this conversation before, and I've talked about this quite a bit about the 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 dangerous nature of this misinformation that people are receiving their information from one particular source. And I would tell people on the left this is dangerous as well if you're only getting your information from one source. But in this case, the source happens to be a pathological liar who has done all these things, allegedly. The court system will determine that. But you're still going to believe him, even though he lies and lies and lies and lies. I mean, and it's so easy to debunk his lies, but yet people will accept it. And I've even had conversations with people. They're like, he's a former president of the United States. Why would he lie to me? And I'm like, dude, really? So it's almost like I don't know where you go with a conversation like that. Again, the fact that people who are supporters of Trump will believe him over their own family is just staggering to me.
And it's a valid point. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody religious because
Yeah,
my in-laws are religious, my wife is religious. Okay,
sure,
before I say this, I'm not being disrespectful to anybody out there.
I
Um,
got you.
but it's the type of person who believes in the things they can't see, uh, that are prone to believe the things they can't understand. So when Trump says this and there's no proof of it, they're taking him as gospel.
Yeah,
Just take the gospel as gospel. It's that mindset. Um, I personally, I like to see things. I like to learn things, and I want to be able to tangibly touch things. That's the way I deal with stuff. That's why I research, and I just don't go to CNN.
exactly. That's exactly right.
But there are other people who be like, "Oh, well, he said that, so it has to be true because he told me it's true." And
That's part of it.
so it's that mindset. Don't believe your eyes or ears. Believe what you're told, without research. Because it's not tangible doesn't mean it's not real. And so again, it's not disrespectful. Anybody could do whatever religion. That's the other thing. Have your religion. Do what you want. Just don't force it on somebody else. That's it.
That's
Um,
right.
but on the flip side, what the fights I've gotten on TikTok this week alone have been the. It's funny how the people who are the right side, who are the Christians, let's say, are the ones that had the most vile comebacks
I
and
know.
disgusting comebacks to a video. I posted a video, a reply to this girl who's very sassy on this website, and I said something out of turn. It sounded like I wished her death, and I didn't. It was she doesn't want to be vaccinated. That's one less Trumper we need during the voting season. Okay, it came off wrong. It came off like I was wishing her death, and I put a video out saying I apologize. I did not mean that because us as the left can apologize and say we did something wrong.
Right.
Well, the vile stuff that came back at me was just disgusting. And I
I
called
know.
several people out because I had people say, well, you need to take a shower. Not anything about my political thing, but take a shower. I'm like, what? I shower. But
I
then,
know.
and you know, I just had major surgery a month ago.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago when I posted that video, I was Biafran looking. My eyes were sunk in. I had lost a ton of weight. I looked like crap. Don't get. Now I'm starting to gain the weight back and blah blah blah. But I'm like, you can't just attack somebody for what they look like because you don't know what they're going through.
It's true.
Attack me on my political views. Attack me on the way I think. Have at it. But
It's
don't tell
true.
me that I look unhealthy because
Yep.
you don't know what I've been through.
That's exactly right. There's no empathy. Like there's no hate like Christian love, as they say. Right.
And then when I post that saying, you can see it. There's a 10-minute video I posted about my struggle,
Mm.
and what I went through. The same person's like, he doubled down. Like he didn't say, you know what, I apologize. You're right. That was out of line. He doubled down. And then
Mm.
there's more people doubling down on that. I'm like, my God, people, this is
I
the
know.
problem we have in America, is that
I know.
nobody cares about it. The right side doesn't care about other people. They care about
Yep.
themselves.
Yep. That's exactly true, Chris. That's exactly true. That's exactly true. Got a few folks that are requesting, brother. So I'm gonna jump into some other conversations. But you look a lot better, bro. I know you're feeling better, and that's a good thing. So keep up the good work, bro. I appreciate you.
I go back to work next week. I'm happy.
Good.
So
Good man. Thanks, buddy.
thanks.
Good talking to you. See you later. He's right though. I mean, there's so many examples of so many people that just they lean in on their hate and they lean in on their just anger towards other people. And I don't always I don't get that. But anyway, please like and share, guys. Would really appreciate that. Hey, Derek, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So, 6 months ago, I was on your live and we were talking about, if Trump had a chance actually had a chance winning in
Hmm.
2024. And I think
Yeah.
if we reflect on polling now, would you say that there's still no chance that Trump becomes president in 2024? Or do you think now, based on polling data that we're seeing, not only nationally, but through swing states, that there is a threat that Biden does not get reelected?
Well, you can look at swing states polls that come out recently in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And you see Biden up, or the race is tight. I don't see any path that Donald Trump has. I'll never say never. I just don't see a path that he has to win the general. Again, you have to look at the electorate, right? He, the way that the way Republican politics works is you need to overperform amongst your own voting bloc, right? We already know that based on what we saw from exit polls in Iowa and in New Hampshire, 33% of the voters Trump voters, people who caucus for Donald Trump, said that if he's convicted, they will not vote for him. That number was higher in New Hampshire. That's something that polls don't reflect because it depends on the way the question is asked. So again, if you're asking me on this particular date and time, do I think Donald Trump will win the election? I do not. I'll never say never, but I do not think he'll win.
Okay. No, that was the only question I had. I think that's a fair point. I would agree. I think, if Trump does get convicted, I think that kind of puts a nail in his coffin, if you will, on reelection. I'm not sure he would have a path to victory. I just think for now it can be a dangerous game for Democrats to write off Trump
I don't
as
think anybody's writing him
their
off. I don't.
chance.
I certainly. I mean, that's Joe. The Joe Biden and the Biden campaign team is certainly not writing him off. They're already making the assumption that he's going to be the nominee. They're definitely not writing him off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I will I just wanted to get your point on that and see what you thought now, that we have some more competitive polls out, but I'll let you bring somebody else on.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't put much stock in polling even this far out, guys. I mean, the way I always look at polling when it comes to selecting a candidate for president as a fool's errand, especially this far out. And I've said this before. If Biden were 7 to 10 points up, I would be saying the same thing. The thing to think about is the electorate, is the appetite of the electorate. Now, the things that polling doesn't cover are just some of the stuff that I talked about. When you actually get people voting, right? And 33% of the voters who voted for Trump, who caucused for Trump in Iowa, have said that they won't vote for him. Now, if that number was 5 or 6%, you could say it would make a big dent. And you could say that even if most of those people, weren't true to their word, but 33% and even higher in New Hampshire. So again, those are the things you have to look at. Never say never. Again, never say never. But I think that's an interesting data point that we should be continuing to talk about. Okay. Good question, though. Please continue to like and share, guys. We really appreciate that. Patrick Fuller,
how are you? How you doing?
I'm well, Patrick. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I had a question for you. You just said a certain percentage of people of the electorate, the Republican Party, will not vote for Trump if he's convicted. You think that's true, right?
Well, it came from the whether it's true or not.
Well, hey, how about
can I finish what I was saying? You asked me a question.
Yeah, sir.
Excuse me. Would you like to have a conversation?
Yes, sir. But why did 13% of Democrats say they wouldn't have voted for Biden if the laptop was real?
Bro. Would you like to have a conversation? Because if you want to have a conversation, we can talk.
Because it's not true.
You're not going to come in and roll. You're not going to come in and steamroll. Okay?
No, sir. No, I don't want to steamroll.
Then stop. Stop talking. Okay.
Okay. So
it wasn't. Excuse me. It wasn't my.
I understand, sir. So you have a retort to what I said,
bro. Would you like to have a conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how this works, bro. All right. You asked me a question first. And I said the data from the exit poll gave that information. I was just sharing it. Okay? I was just sharing it.
Great.
So 33, excuse me. No, I'm not done. 33%.
So you're going to talk more about exit polls. Okay.
33% of, exit polls are really, actually, they're accurate. It's a good way to.
Said that, because get ready what I'm going to drop on you. Go ahead.
Oh, great. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. So looking forward to you, because I'm sure your knowledge is backed with fact, right, Patrick? Tell you what. Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead. Tell me, share with me your wisdom.
Absolute objective fact that really can't be argued. So how about 13% of real Democrats said they wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden once they knew that the laptop was real? How do you feel about that? Do you know that means that Trump would have already won the election? Or why are you talking?
Your source is what?
But I was in the middle of talking. MSNBC, CNN, ABC.
Right. Sure, I believe that. So citing a source, Patrick, you can randomize and say a whole bunch of shit. But citing your source.
Wait a minute. When I start talking, you start talking, right?
Yeah, because it's my live, Patrick. You don't like it, you can leave.
Oh, so you can be rude.
When you cite your source.
Here you go, my boy. You got dragged in your own live. Fact is,
I got dragged.
Bro. You're dragged. 77% of all Americans don't want him to run. Independent, Democrat, and Republican. They say he's
going to run away. And now you're going to run away. Yep. Bye-bye. And he's a runner. Oh my God. Mods, please don't mute people. Let me take care of that. But he's a runner. Unbelievable. Oh, he's back. So Patrick, listen, bro. If you want to,
I didn't run. What are you talking about? Don't lie to your people.
Patrick,
don't lie.
Shut up, man. Patrick, shut up.
Yeah, you just got caught.
Patrick, shut up. You want to have a conversation or not?
Yeah,
you want to have. Stop talking, bro.
Crowd that somebody kicked me. Why do you tell the crowd that you kicked me?
I didn't kick you. Stop.
Yeah, or Amada did. I didn't run. Why are you saying that?
Stop talking.
Hey.
Stop talking. You don't want to have a conversation. If you want to have a conversation,
let's start off clean. Hey, let's have a clean slate. Clean slate.
Then stop talking then.
Okay, great. Hey, will one of your mods admit that they just kicked me on live?
Talking. Patrick.
Sir, will one of your mods accept it and say that they kicked me?
Patrick.
What is wrong with you? Look how triggered you are. You're going in a circle, bro.
I'm talking.
You just said I ran when one of your mods kicked me. Stop lying to your chat. Go ahead.
One of my mods just said that admitted that they kicked you. The question was, did
Okay,
I?
okay. So I didn't run, so apologize.
Stop. No.
Apologize to your chat.
Patrick, stop talking. God damn. Do you want to have a conversation or not?
I do, but take responsibility and tell your chat.
Talking.
Okay, take responsibility and tell chat that the mod kicked me.
I just did.
You won't even admit it to yourself. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Did.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Patrick, stop.
All right, let's go. Let's do it.
So, I'm assuming you voted for Donald Trump in 2020, Patrick?
Absolutely. The election that was won handedly.
So your evidence is that you have...
The evidence is that we have 2,000 mules. Our evidence is also the geo-tracking systems that are on everybody's cell phone, the same ones that the EMP...
So, Patrick,
hold on.
Good night, Patrick. Yes, I kicked you that time. So I just would like to point something out, all right? Patrick is a good example of what we're talking about right here, okay? Patrick is... actually brought up 2,000 mules. Okay? I don't platform people like that. One of my mods kicked him accidentally, and they stepped up. I did not kick him. He did not run. I'll clarify that right now. But for somebody to come in here with that much energy, and then they run to 2,000 mules? Are you kidding me? Oh, Trailblazer, you think Patrick owned me? Trailblazer, you only have 16 followers, bro. Okay. Yeah, he owned me. He sure did. Wow, that's his bad. Exactly. It's his bad faith. Patrick, bro, you're done. You're a baby. I'm not going to bring you back up here. Are you kidding me? You're just a baby. You don't want to have a conversation. You don't want to have a conversation, bro. You want to yell. People like you want to try to bring other people's lives down because you can't debate. Thomas, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, man. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I just want to say I am a Trump supporter, but no, Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick.
I agree. So you voted for him in 2020?
I didn't vote for him. I'm a convicted felon. I cannot vote. All I can do is, and it's like I've told people in other lives, I'll be the first one to call out bullshit. I get in MAGA lives. I get in, and I hate to throw labels around, but liberal lives, and just have a conversation. Have a conversation.
I think I met you last night. You were in Bad Bunny's live, I think, and I appreciate you being sincere. Is there any particular topic that you wanted to bring up?
No, I just looked at my DMs, my DMs for the first time. I think Bad Bunny sent me. Was she in here today? Was she in your live today? Because I got a message and
she's a mod. She mods for me.
Okay, I have no idea what that means. I'm actually believe it or not, I'm fairly new to TikTok. I've got like over, I don't know how many followers. I've got like 1,500 or some shit like that.
Good for you, man. Yeah, basically a mod is somebody, I have a whole bunch of, they're moderators. They sort of monitor the chat and they kind of keep things moving. They will mute people and or recommend people to be brought up to the box and talk, or they'll just, people who are sharing bullshit like our previous guest, they won't let them continue.
What was this 2,000 mules thing? What was that about? I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's a conspiracy-filled movie that was produced by someone that Donald Trump pardoned, a convicted felon who Donald Trump pardoned, by the name of Dinesh D'Souza, and it was the right proof that the election was stolen when it was a bunch of bullshit. In fact, right-wing media outlets won't even talk about it because of how unbelievably ridiculous it is.
Wow.
Yeah, don't waste your time. I mean, feel free to watch it if you want to, but don't waste your time.
You mean even Steve Bannon won't talk about it?
Well, Steve Bannon will talk about it because he'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
He'll talk about anything that gets him clicks, but they won't cover it on Fox or Newsmax might, but they don't really seem to care about their own integrity. But the point behind it is that it's just nonsense, and people like our previous guest who don't have an argument, who do not know how to debate, who only yell and scream, will like to use things like that to say, "Oh, this is the proof. This is the proof," and there's just no proof.
Well, I think, and I was talking about this yesterday. I think a lot of the problem is with and it's crazy because it seems to just exist among a lot of, I mean, because I know a lot of left wing radicals, and they can not only tell you what they believe, but they can tell you specifically why they believe it. And although I disagree, at least I can respect it because at least it comes from a place of what seems to be passion.
Hmm.
But it just, I find myself rather disenchanted with a lot of Trump supporters, with a lot of people who would shake their heads and say that they agree with everything that I'm saying because you ask a lot of these people why they believe it, they can't tell you. They can't tell you. And as I stated yesterday, I'm not going to get too religious or anything like that, but I do consider myself a man of faith. I do have certain convictions. I do have certain perceptions as to what's right and what's wrong, and that's all I'm accountable for as far as what I promote, what I suggest. You know what I mean? And people
Yeah.
ask me, why do you support this person? Why? Well, make no mistake, it's not so much that I support, it's not as much my support for that person as it is my opposition to what the other side embraces. And
Let me
not that everything
let
the
me
other side embraces is wrong. I just there's too many
sure.
too many deal
Let,
breakers for me.
let me ask you a question because so prior to your time being incarcerated, were you a voter?
I went in when I was I went in when I was 20. I went in
Okay.
January of 2012. So the 2016 election would have been the first one that I was legally able to vote in as far as a presidential election.
Okay. And did you vote in that election?
No, I did 6 years in prison. I didn't get out till 2017, till June of
Oh,
2017.
gotcha. I got that. Okay, I got that backwards. Okay, so then where would you say you fall on the political spectrum? Conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat, independent? Where would you say you fall?
Well, I wouldn't say Republican just for the fact that like again, as I've stated before, too many there's just too many extremes, and for the same reason I wouldn't say Democrat because the majority of the Democratic Party. I mean, I don't know how you feel about RFK. I'm a fan, but um,
So let's talk about that for a second because he's an anti-vaxxer. He's a
right.
known anti-Semite. He is a conspiracy theorist. So I'm curious as to what it is about him that drew you because you know those things about him, right? I mean, you know that he's an anti-vaxxer. I'm sure you've heard the stories about his anti-Semitic behavior and the things that he said and the people that he associates with, and he spread a lot of conspiracy theories, which are really dangerous. So I'm curious as to what it was that drew him to you. Is it just that he's an alternative?
No, it's not that he's an alternative. As far as being an anti-vaxxer, I'm not anti-vax. However, I don't believe it should be forced upon people no more than some other things. And I understand the arguments for that, but I
Okay.
also understand that and if that's your argument, then be wholehearted about it. If you fundamentally believe that it's the government's place or jurisdiction or prerogative to mandate such things, then why is it? And I'm not talking about you. I'm not saying that you. I'm not going to try to. I'm not going to paint anybody with a broad brush here. But
Okay.
why is it that when it comes to a whole host of other issues, whether it's open borders or whether it's any other issue, they don't seem to be as passionate about it because I mean there's all kinds of ways
Well,
in which
let's stay on the topic here. First of all, the borders aren't open. We can go back to that in a second. But the question I had for you is specific around because you said something that who forced anybody to get vaccinated? Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
well they sent down from what I understand, and I mean feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what little I understand, which again, I'll just be honest with you, I don't pay. I'm familiar. I used to pay a lot more attention before I got to a point where I was fed up with it all. I was fed up with the right wing. I was fed up with the other extreme, and so. But from what I understand, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, the government basically passed down a mandate that, and more or less, now they say some people say it was a mandate, but if you leave it in the hands of like let's say hospitals because there were a lot of nurses, there were a lot of essential workers that just fundamentally they did not want to get the vaccine.
Okay, so
Teachers.
let's stop there for just a second. Okay, so medical professionals treating people that are immunocompromised. I have an immunocompromised kid. My daughter's immunocompromised. So don't you think it's the responsibility of a healthcare worker to keep people who are immunocompromised safe?
I think that should have been the presumption before everything that we now know about the virus, such as how ineffective masks.
I have a request. Okay, we can't unless you're a doctor or a virologist. I'm not going to allow you to talk about what's effective and what's not because it's purely your opinion. Okay, we know that it was we know there was a global pandemic. We know that it had that people lost their lives, including over 1 million Americans. We know that that's factual. The question that I asked you though is, and I want to make sure you answer this. Nurses, physicians, they have a responsibility, right, to provide care for individuals in their care. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, so then if they're resistant to take a vaccine that would protect others, then don't you think that that's irresponsible on their behalf?
Can they still carry the virus even if they're vaccinated? Can they still, such as
they can. That's what a vaccine. Okay, so vaccines don't guarantee you from not getting the disease. It just lowers your risk and it increases your chances of survival. That's what vaccines have done throughout history. It's not like it's gonna. I mean, I've gotten flu shots most of my adult life again because I'm an immunocompromised kid. It doesn't mean that I haven't gotten the flu because I have. It's just vaccines are not 100%, and no one has ever said they are. But again, the question I'm asking you is, don't you think that there's a responsibility as a medical professional, if you're treating people who are sick, that they have to be protected?
Well, I have to fully understand something real quick before I can answer that question with an intelligent answer is that, let's say I get vaccinated. Okay. Let's say that I get vaccinated. That allegedly significantly reduces the chance of me becoming sick.
Not allegedly. It's factual.
Okay. Well, I'm just used to saying allegedly because everything's
It's not allegedly though, but it's not allegedly. It's factual.
Well, I just don't want to.
Vaccine. Okay, again, sir, Thomas, you may disagree, but the science would tell you. Are you a virologist or a doctor?
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm not either, but from what I've read and from the professionals I've spoken to, vaccines reduce the risk of transmission. That's what they do. So it's not allegedly. That's what vaccines do. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get it, and it doesn't mean you can't spread it to somebody else, but it lowers the odds significantly. Okay, so again, the question I asked you specifically, don't you think medical professionals have a responsibility to protect patients and their care?
I do believe that, but I guess my question is does the vaccine? I understand, and I'll take allegedly out of my comment. Let's say the vaccine significantly reduces the person who receives the vaccine from getting infected. Does it reduce the probability of them spreading it? Is what I'm asking. Let's say
it does. Yes, that's the whole point. That's what vaccines are for. I mean, think about surgeons when they open up your chest to do a heart surgery. They've got a mask on. I mean, don't you think there's again, it's a responsibility. And I don't like the premise of your statement that the government forced people. Federal employees were told to get vaccinated. Yeah, sure. But they're federal employees. Like I had a company that said, the company I was working at the time said, you either get vaccinated or you've got to wear a mask. It's one or the other. That's their choice. It's a private company. That's their choice. Now you can disagree with that, whatever it might be. You can choose to go work someplace else. But when you're in a public health situation that was global, I think there's a responsibility of society for people to help and protect others. Like I would not want my daughter who's immunocompromised to be treated by somebody who was against vaccinations. That's irresponsible.
Okay, I'll say this, and I'll ask. Well, I'm going to say this, and then I'll ask you a question. I think early on, up until a certain point, everything that you're saying is absolutely applicable. They should have done, and they didn't do. I do not believe. I think the guy that we had in office, and I think Trump, and it wasn't just Trump. I think a lot of people were cavalier about it. I don't think early on, before they knew everything. But let me ask you about now. Okay, so now we're at a situation where early on they shut down the entire economy. We listened to Anthony Fauci, we listened to all the doctors, we listened,
and he was right.
But now we're at a situation where we've basically come to terms with the fact that the virus is basically here to stay. It's not going
like every other virus, like the flu and everything else. No doubt about it.
It's not going anywhere. We basically opened up the entire economy. So the only difference now is certain economic devastation that was caused that I think, and I'm not one of these people that get on their knees every time Donald Trump says something, oh, but and it wasn't just Donald Trump. I think there were those that just kind of had a feeling that, if this is, and again, I'm not an expert. I just wonder what the point of shutting down the entire economy and all that drama was about. If we were just going to open it all back up and the virus is still here, and it's just as significant enough, if not worse than it's ever been.
Bob, you're missing something. You're missing a massive piece of this. Part of anything else, right, is that you learn by doing, and you learn by going through the process. So we have vaccines now.
Right.
People are getting, the overwhelming majority of Americans are vaccinated. Donald Trump got vaccinated. So it's overwhelming majority of people. Lives were saved because of doing that. Now, you can disagree. You might feel like you're inconvenienced, but it worked. We know it worked. It was, don't forget, it was worldwide, man. It wasn't just in America. It was worldwide. Decisions were made. You respond. You respond to the threat as you see it. That's what you do. And don't forget, Trump lied about it. He was not upfront with the American people about it. He knew the severity of it. He knew that it was airborne long before. He knew months before, and he did nothing about it. And I've said this I'll say it again. If he had handled COVID responsibly, like he should have, he would have been reelected, but he didn't. So
you think that was the deal breaker? You think that was the deal breaker for?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Yep, I absolutely do. If he had been responsible, I mean, J6 might have thrown, whatever that happened after the fact. But if he had handled COVID responsibly, he would have been reelected. But he didn't. He ignored it. He didn't want to take any. Flat out, he was asked, "Do you take any responsibility for this?" He's like, "Nope, I take none." That's not what leadership is, man. That's not what leaders do. That's not what leaders do. So again, I would just caution you about some of the things that you said, because you can have an opinion about something, but you spoke to them as if they're fact. Vaccines are effective. They've been effective throughout our entire lives. We eradicated some diseases because of vaccines. The reason that COVID stuck around as long as it did in America is because people didn't get vaccinated. That's just the reality. That's just the reality of it. And if you choose not to get vaccinated, that is your choice. I would encourage you to rethink that, because over something as simple as getting vaccinated. I mean, you've probably gotten shots in your life before, right? Chickenpox, polio when you were a kid, most likely, right?
I think so. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So what's changed? See, that's my point. So everything became political unnecessarily because somebody chose to politicize it. That's the point. It's a public health emergency, and we had to deal with it. And we learned some things. Did we make mistakes? Absolutely. But that's what science is. You evolve. Don't forget the variants changed. The vaccines had to change. Boosters had to change. Timing about boosters had to change. Ages in regards to the people who got vaccinated and when. That all changed. That's what happens. That's what you do.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you, in your opinion, do you think that, okay, I don't know, the flu's been around for quite a while, for instance.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think as time passes, do you think that the issue of COVID will be much less politicized, and people won't be like so adamant about making vaccines mandatory? Because should the flu shot be mandatory? Should certain shots should be, most definitely polio, as you stated.
Yeah, sure. Measles, mumps, rubella, things like that.
Yeah,
I mean, sure.
certain things that were like,
Kids can't go to school in some situations. Kids can't go to school. That was no different for you or I. I mean, you have to have a certain level to go to summer camp, to go to things like that. So, for example, my daughter goes to a camp in the summer that is for kids that have survived cancer. She goes to this camp, and the list of vaccinations that are required for everybody to go, because again, the goal is to keep everybody safe. So, I don't think you're going to mandate a flu vaccine. I mean, that's personal choice, right? And I would agree that COVID was not mandated either, unless you were a certain type of employee. The military, for example, hang on a second. The military, for example, they've been getting vaccinated forever, no issues, and all of a sudden, COVID comes along, and Donald Trump says something about it, and then it becomes a political issue. So it was made political. It shouldn't have been. People should have just gotten vaccinated. People lost their lives because of stubbornness, quite frankly.
well, I mean, it's one of those things. You said their goal, their objective was to keep people safe,
Yeah.
and I don't disagree with. I don't just I don't unilaterally disagree with that. I think there are those health experts. I think there are those who truly did intend to keep people safe. But if the contention is that our government, that the powers that be, that their objective is to keep our people safe, it just I kind of got to call bullshit to a certain extent.
I really don't care about that, Thomas, to be perfectly honest with you. We're talking about a public health emergency. Okay, the scientists,
so was the fentanyl epidemic. So was the fentanyl epidemic. There's all kinds of public health issues. Every 11 seconds, somebody dies.
I was talking. So specifically, the example is this is a worldwide health emergency. Millions of people lost their lives because of it. And don't forget, there was a playbook handed over to the Trump administration from Obama as to how to deal with the next pandemic. And the Trump administration tore it up. My point is, as a society, we each have a responsibility to each other, right? It is my responsibility to make decisions that I think certainly for my family, but also to keep others safe. I would not be selfish to say, I'm not going to get vaccinated, we'll just wing it, pure blood. I think that is selfish. I think it's just plain old selfish for people not to do that. But again, the misinformation is that nobody, unless depending on where you worked and what you did, and then it's up to the company and or the organization, no one was forced to do anything. And I do believe government has a responsibility, and there are hundreds of examples throughout history where the government steps in to make its people safer. Seatbelt laws, changing safety in cars, all kinds of things that we've done throughout society to make people safer. Yeah, you got forced to when you're in the military. You also got forced to get other vaccines when you're in the military. So it's again, that's the point. COVID became political because people made it political. That's the point. Anything else, Thomas?
No, I enjoyed the conversation, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night. Sorry, it's just dangerous. We're still here. I am not going to have a conversation about COVID all night. So if that's the only thing you want to talk about, I'm not interested. Good evening, Gary. How are you tonight? Gary?
Yeah?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, but I would say you're putting out some disinformation because you say nobody was forced to get it,
that's not what I
but
said.
Yet you couldn't leave your house
Gary,
in New York.
Gary, that's not what I said. Let's be clear. It depends on what you did for work and where you worked, whether or not you were forced to get vaccinated.
It's not just where you worked. It's also where you lived. If you were in New York, you couldn't leave your house if you weren't vaccinated.
That's not true, Gary, and you know it. That's just not true. Stop spreading misinformation, dude. That's not true. That's just not true. Okay? Stop spreading misinformation. It's just not true, man.
By the way, it was not registered as a vaccine to the government. It was registered.
Okay, yes, it was. Good night. I'm not going to deal with that bullshit. It's just more misinformation. I'm not doing it. Look, I'm not going to have conversations about COVID anymore. It's just there's so much misinformation, and I am not going to allow people to talk about it. You made a decision. If you didn't want to get vaccinated, that was your choice. If you worked for a company that said, we expect you to get vaccinated and you chose not to, that's your choice. Private companies, if you're in the military, you're mandated. It's been that way forever. Moving on from the conversation. Thank you. Hello there. How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good. Just to correct a couple of things that they were saying. I was a federal employee. We had to get vaccinated. A lot of the drivers didn't get vaccinated, and they're no longer with us.
Exactly.
And we still had to wear masks. I personally had COVID 4 times, and I'm fully vaccinated, but I'm still here. And I have stage 4 kidney disease. So being around people that weren't vaccinated was dangerous, and that's how I kept getting COVID.
That's right.
I don't understand what's so hard for people to understand. I lost 6 family members to COVID.
Because people are weak. People are cowards and people are selfish. That's why.
Well, Donald Trump loves the poorly uneducated because they're easily to manipulate.
Yeah,
and he said that.
You're right. I don't want this entire evening to be about COVID because it could just spiral into just nonsense, and it's
No,
so
it's fine.
unnecessary.
What else is your topic?
No, it's fine. I mean, I appreciate your perspective on it, and I appreciate you kind of closing the loop on us because, again, as a medical professional and somebody who dealt with it when somebody was mandated, which is exactly what I said. Depending on what you did for work or the environment that you lived in, you might have been
Correct.
forced to get it, and that's how it's been. That's it. The
Well, I
overwhelming
mean,
majority of our country, I think it's 80% of our country is vaccinated. Eighty
well,
percent.
I mean, my kids had to get vaccinated to go to school. If you don't want your kids in school, homeschool them. If
Exactly.
you don't want to go to a job where you're mandated to do something, stay at home.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. I mean, again, once again, I appreciate your perspective on that, friend. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Have a good night.
You as well.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, trying to shift gears a little bit here. So there's Anthony. What's up, man? How are you, brother?
Greetings and salutations.
Welcome to a Monday evening.
I gotta turn my my Obama funded Soros paychecked Wi-Fi on.
Awesome. Yeah, mine. I'm waiting for mine. I haven't got it. I haven't got the upgrades yet. We were talking earlier. We had a couple of guests. Couple of guests ago that we were talking about the way in which people get their information, and I think that I shared this slide with you earlier today about how amazing it is that 71% of Trump voters say that what Trump tells them is the truth, more than they respect the opinion of their own friends and family.
Well, is that not bullet point one on evidencing that you're in a cult when you don't doubt the cult leader?
Yeah, and fascism too. I mean, where is it? I've got let's see, what does it say here? One of the perfect examples. Where is it? Disdain for the recognition of human rights. Identification of enemies and scapegoats. Only you believe what I say. Control the mass media. I mean, there's so many examples there about how you're only going to accept the information that's relevant to you. But I do think it's interesting that we've reached this particular point that there's no breaking through. Like you and I've talked about, how many are left that we can flip? And if 71% of Trump voters only will believe what he says, then I guess that leaves us 29%.
Yeah, and I think perspective is important too.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about 71%, we're talking about 71% of roughly 15 to maybe at best 30% of the electorate. Right. So we're not even really talking about a large swath of people. I believe MAGA is incredibly tiny. And by that I mean that maybe out of independents and registered Republicans, maybe that totals to 30%, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And so when we talk about these numbers, we have to also remember that while we're trying to find people and understand people, we probably run through them all, right? Except for who was that man child up here yelling earlier? I was in my car waiting to pick up my daughter. The guy that said he schooled you on your live, like,
right?
What the hell?
One of those people. One of those people try to take lives down. It's just there's a game that they play. They're part of the group. I'll bring up a guest. See what we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
See what we can do.
Okie dokes.
Good evening, Rob. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind?
I was listening to the conversation earlier, and I just thought that you speak about some of these supposed facts with such certainty, but you are neither an expert nor do you have certain facts straight.
So which facts specifically did I not get straight?
Number one, you referred to the vaccine historically, when this is a very different kind of medication. And in fact, they changed the definition of vaccine in the middle of it to include what
No, they
this
didn't, Rob. That's
particular
another conspiracy.
medication
Sorry,
did. They
bro.
did. They changed the
No, no, they
definition.
didn't. They didn't,
Yes,
Rob.
they
They didn't.
did.
No, they did not. No, they did not. Another conspiracy, another more conspiracy bullshit. I'm not doing it. That's the new one. Well, that's not a new one. That was something that the right like to talk about. How about that they changed the definition of vaccines to support their bullshit narrative? I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. MCM. MCM. Good evening. How are you tonight? Hello. MCM. MCM. How are you?
Yes,
Hi there.
I'm good, thank you. I'm just one thing I wanted to say. There are a lot of people who are talking about illegal immigrants, and I'm sick and tired of their stupid narrative because I would like them. I would really like them to define what illegal immigrant is. They can't give you a definition. And the thing is, every time they come in and like I work at the airport in the San Antonio area, and we get a lot of immigrants coming in through there. And a lot of them have documentation, and they have to have documentation in order to go through a legal port of entry. So I'm sick and tired of everyone's stupid narrative about saying all these illegals are how all these people are illegal when they have proper documentation to get, and they're here.
Well, MCM,
Another
let's
thing
correct
was
let's hold on one second. Let's correct a couple of things. You don't have to have any
yes,
document. You don't have to have any documentation to enter our country. The only thing that's required to make
okay,
an asylum. The only thing that's required to make an asylum claim is a foot on U.S. soil, whether you enter through a port of
right,
entry or not. All that's
okay,
required is to be if you decide to make an asylum claim, all that's required is a foot on U.S. soil.
right. But then they're processed once they've made that claim. They get processed with documents. So then for them to say that these people are illegally here, that's still incorrect. I mean,
Right. Well, there's another
if they have yes,
there's another little wrinkle that you have a year
hmm
once you step foot to make your asylum claim. So again, I want to make sure that I appreciate your perspective on it, and I agree that people get blamed and scapegoated a lot, but there's a couple of things that are required. So, for case in point, so NARTI, you're actually wrong about that. This is a comment. You said you can ask for asylum before crossing the border illegally. That's incorrect. You actually have to have a foot on U.S. soil before you can make that claim, NARTI. Come up and talk about it. So I'm sorry, MCM. I didn't want
no,
to
it's
get away
okay.
from
No,
our
no, no,
conversation.
no. That's like I'm very limited on the knowledge that I have. I know I have a friend that works for um, he's a coordinator for having like coordinator for shelters here in San Antonio, and he works with the immigrants. And like a lot of the times, we get a lot of people coming in, and it's just so sad to see. We have um, so many people coming in, and like everyone's just looking down on them. It kind of it upsets me. Like I've got neighbors here who cross the border and and claimed asylum, and they are the hardest working people that we have
Yep.
here in this country.
Yep. We know that. Yeah, I appreciate your perspective on that, MCM. I really appreciate that. Is there anything else on your mind?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work. I
Thank
see
you.
that you and Anthony have do your very best to try and um, help people
We
who
try.
don't seem to be helped, who can't be helped. Um, but keep up the good work, and thank you for
Thank you
having me
very
up.
much. You got it. Appreciate you. Have a good
Mm,
night.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Dropped the microphone. That was harsh.
I'm
Okay. I'll drop. I
I'm
got you.
sorry. Can you drop me? I don't know how to drop.
I got you. Sure thing. So Narti, I just sent you an invite. Please accept. You have enough followers. You told me that it's not true, the statement that I made about asylum. And I'd like to have that conversation with you. So please accept that invite that I just sent you in RT and join us for a brief conversation. It won't hurt. We'll learn. I know he won't, but maybe he will. Just think, Narti, you could shut me up. Just think about that. Because again, the claim that I made is that you cannot claim asylum unless you step foot on U.S. soil. And you seem to think that that's not true. So, Tyler, I see you, buddy. I'll get you. Hang tight. Everybody's requesting. Got a lot of people in the box. I just want to save some space for Narti at the moment. So again, Matt Drudge. What about port of entry, Matt? What about port of entry? Okay, again, a lot of MAGA. I see a lot of MAGA spamming the chat. You think I'm wrong, so prove me wrong then. Come up here and tell me. Come up here and tell me how I'm wrong. That's what I want to know. I want to know. So while we're waiting for the MAGA alphas to jump in the box, I want to revisit our poll here because this was a CBS News YouGov poll from this past fall. They asked Trump voters what they tell you is true, and they gave them these choices. And Donald Trump, 71% of Trump supporters say that what he tells them is the truth. Yeah, that's interesting. So Dylan's daddy, I'm going to send you an invite too because you have inaccurate information as well. So I'd like to have that conversation with you because you said that you have to be at a port of entry. Have to be a port of entry. That's incorrect. It does not have to be a port of entry. You can be anywhere you cross the border. So that's the reality. Please come up and talk. See, this is the thing, Anthony. Have you noticed this? Like we've been talking about this a lot.
Yeah.
Is that people will spam away, bang away in the chat and think you've got all this information. You have enough followers, but you won't come up and talk. Why is that?
They lack honor and courage.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not insulting. That's just a factual statement. If you had any honor, courage, or even the word conviction in your beliefs and you have enough followers, you'd hop up in the box. Hey, and I'm going to have a paying customer ping me here in a second. So if I go on mute and turn my camera off, it's because nobody wants to hear what I do for a living during the day.
I gotcha. No worries.
We don't want to put the audience to sleep.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Hey, Nate, how are you today?
Good. How's it going?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
I just think borders are stupid. I mean, it's just an imaginary line.
Stupid. Okay.
Well,
it's not imaginary.
Well,
it's
you're right.
Actual line.
But it's one you can't see in real life unless you look at signs. And
it depends on where you are. Have you traveled around the world?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because there's a lot of places that have borders.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Great Wall of China will get a good example, but I just think they're just stupid. We're all just people. What's the point in separating everybody? And it's just politics they get in the way.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think there has to be some type of sort of, record of travel and things along those lines. But I agree. I completely think I'd say we've got 11 million unfilled jobs in our country. We know that that immigrants contributed $600 billion to our economy in taxes last year. We know that they're some of the hardest working people there are. We know that they don't complain. They want to provide for their families just like you and I. I agree.
It's frustrating that this is always a talking point for every election for the last 100 years.
Yep.
And I think people are just getting tired of it. I mean, I know I have family members in other states and stuff, even in my own state, that, it's all about, they want to talk about it all the time. And they're just people. They're just, I mean, for the most part, of course, there's always going to be a few outliers, but
sure, like everything else.
Yeah, but I mean, I lived in Arizona for a good amount of time, and we had a lot of illegals there that I even went to school with, and there were some.
Let's not say illegals. Let's not say illegals, please.
I'm sorry.
Undocumented migrants.
You're correct.
Yeah.
But I did have a lot of friends and families that I even went to their houses and stuff, and they were some of the nicest, down to earth people, hardest working ever, and it's in some ways even better Americans than other ones are. It's amazing.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's scapegoating. It's another tenet of fascism. Brown skin. Let's blame them for everything, and that's typical. That's typical. And I've said this before that if you truly wanted to solve the immigration issue, we've been very fortunate. We've had a couple of guests that have joined us. We had a panel discussion last week about it. You approach it from the economic perspective, a humanitarian perspective, and a family perspective. If you prioritize our immigration based on those categories, I think that would solve most, if not all, of our problems. We are in a system that is 70 years old. We are running off of the INA, which was established in 1952 or 1954, and it's the same system that we use. And there's been no significant changes to our border policy in that time. In that time, we have seen an exponential increase year after year just because that's how the population works.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget, over the last 70 years, we've destabilized so many countries in Central and South America, which has caused this, right? People see America as this gateway to a better life, and that's the American dream, and they see it more than perhaps many Americans do. But yet they become the targets from the right. They become attacked. They become the victims of just hatred and just so much xenophobia. It's horrible.
Yeah, there's so much hatred. It's exhausting, and I'm 51 now, and it really becomes taxing the older you get, that you just see more and more hate everywhere, and you just personally, you just have to kind of tune it out, because there's nothing valuable in their argument.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I wanted to say. And I was confused about your chart, but I understand it now. And I really appreciate you being on here. I come watch you frequently, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Have a good night. I appreciate you joining.
Thanks, man.
Be well. Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, it's we hear it all the freaking time, you guys, right? We hear it all the time about it's targeting. I mean, that it's a tenet of fascism. We can just replace brown people with black people, or gay people, or trans people, or people who are non-Christian. It becomes a target. Everybody becomes a target in a fascist state. And that's the issue, right? We know that it's an imaginary crisis at the border that's been created for political points. That's it, right? That's it. We know it. That's the reality of this circumstance. But people have so much misinformation about it. Even now, even people just spamming the chat, thinking that you know what the process of asylum is. Well, let me ask you a question, friend. If you had to fix your car, would you take your car to a mechanic or to a pastry chef? I would take my car to a mechanic. So therefore, if I had questions about immigration, would I ask somebody who worked at the Dollar General, or would I ask an immigration attorney, or maybe a former Border Patrol agent? Yeah, I might ask them. So that's what we did. That's what Anthony and I did. We hosted a live with individuals, two of those folks, last week, and they gave us a lot of information, a ton of it. The asylum process, what the INA is, the difference between refugee status and asylum status, the amount of time it takes, knowing that we've got all kinds of staffing issues, that we know that oftentimes people who work on Border Patrol are sharing their political affiliation, which is against the rules. We know that oftentimes it's a coin flip to the judge that you get as to how quickly you can be processed. We know that the people that are given phones, they're not smartphones. They're not playing Angry Birds. It's got a GPS device, and so they can make their court date. So much information. 97% of asylum applicants are denied. These are the things that we know because we took the time to learn. And I don't know why more people don't. It's very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Good evening, Brains. How are you?
Good evening. You probably been asked this. I just literally hopped in on your live. What is the chart like? Why is there friends and family?
Okay, so this chart it's a CBS News YouGov poll, and Trump supporters were asked what they tell you is true. 71% of Trump supporters said that what Donald Trump tells them is true. More than their family, more than
Oh,
conservative media figures, more than religious leaders.
yeah, but this could be done the same way around for Democratic what they believe what Biden says.
Not true. I voted for Joe Biden. You think I'm going to take Joe Biden's word over my own research or my friends and my family?
Oh, they already did this test for Joe Biden?
No, no, that it was done for
Oh,
Trump
they only
voters.
did it for Donald Trump. That's weird. They only did it for Donald Trump, not Biden. Huh.
It's
That to me,
just a
that's weird.
survey. What it's there? If you want to make a poll for Biden, so are you a Trump guy?
No, I'm just like wondering why since 2016 has everything been about Trump? How come no one can get him out of their heads? It's literally left, right, moderate. Everyone talks about Trump. I don't get it.
Why do you think that is?
Because y'all don't want to stop talking about him. Y'all don't
So
want to stop talking about him.
it's y'all. So that means that you're a Trump supporter because you said y'all. So I'm
No, I
assuming.
mean everybody. When I mean everybody, I mean Trump supporters, Democratic
Okay. So
liberals. I
let
mean
me ask you a question
everybody.
though. But why do you think people are talking about him? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Just like any other president's done bad, it's never been this much publicity for this long for everyone president.
Okay. So you don't think that the right talked about Barack Obama every single day for 8 years?
Who?
Barack Obama.
So, Barack Obama what? I didn't hear
You
you.
you don't think the right talked about Barack Obama every single day for 8 years?
I didn't say just the left talks about Trump. I
I know
said
that.
everybody. It's everything is about Trump.
Well,
Okay, so I didn't say
it's
nothing about just the left talks about
right, but
Trump.
you still haven't answered my
I ain't talking
question. So
about.
it's okay. First of all, he was the president for 4 years, right? And now he's a candidate for president. So don't you think it's important that we talk about people who are running for to be the leader of our country?
Not exactly talking about him, more or less
What are we
just
doing?
not really talking about him. You're just saying things
But
that I don't know how to explain it. It's just y'all it's been the same thing over and over.
but you're talking about
Just
him.
if y'all really believe he's not going to win,
I
then
don't
let
believe
him
he's going to
run.
win. I don't care if he runs.
Okay,
Let him
then
run.
stop what? All right then. Okay, cool. I like the way you think, but most of them do not think the same way you do.
Well, no, so do you believe in the Constitution?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you believe in the Constitution, do you believe? So do you know what's required to become president of the United States?
U.S. citizen. I forget what age you got to be. I believe above 40, right?
Nope, 35.
Oh, 35.
And what else?
And so U.S. citizen above 35 and
Well, you have to be a natural
shoot,
born
I don't.
U.S. citizen. You have to be a natural born U.S. citizen.
Well, yeah,
You can't.
natural born. Okay, yeah, that's what I.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And what else? You know what
And
else?
no, I do not.
Okay, you
To me, that's
can't
all
have
it should be.
you can't have engaged in insurrection or rebellion. So the Constitution is very clear about that. So judges in Colorado interpreted that he engaged in insurrection, and the Supreme Court in Colorado upheld that. And a Secretary of State, given that power by the legislator in the state of Maine, also determined that. So I don't know what the issue is. It's not
I
like
thought
it's
the
me.
cases.
It's not like it's me or it's Anthony or it's somebody else. It's just that was the determination. So Republican voters in Colorado sued to have him removed from the ballot.
Wait, so if he did do wrong, then how come he's still able to run in these polls and still run for like that makes no sense. I'm not saying I'm a full-on Trump supporter or Democratic Republican. I'm just trying to figure all this
Okay.
out.
Okay. So
So why?
I'll tell you,
Wait,
Republican voters in Colorado sued because they wanted Donald Trump removed from the ballot under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, the disqualification clause, which clearly states if someone engages in insurrection and or rebellion, that they're not eligible to hold office. The district court judge in Colorado determined that, agreed, and the Supreme Court in Colorado also agreed. Now, Maine They have a different process in their constitution. That power is given to the Secretary of State to make that determination. She decided that she also agreed that he engaged in insurrection. So that's why he's been removed from the ballot pending appeal. He's technically still on the ballot, but it's being appealed currently.
So what you're saying is anybody that wants to vote for Trump, then that in the Constitution is revoked.
No, it's what the Constitution says. If the Constitution, so for example, if you wanted to run for president, Brain, if you were 34, could I vote for you?
If I was to run for president?
Yeah, if you were to run for president and you were 34, could I vote for you?
No, because I thought you had to be 35 or above.
Exactly. So then, therefore, if a person engages in insurrection according to the same clause in our Constitution, then that person can't be voted for either.
But I thought that was for Civil War people that were like part of the Confederate trying to join back.
That's just when it was established, but it's still part of the Constitution. It's still a disqualifying clause in our Constitution.
But it was towards rebels. I mean, the Confederates.
It doesn't matter what it was for. It's still in the Constitution. So if I were to use your logic, when the Second Amendment was written, what did we have? Black powder pistols and flintlock?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's context, right? So the 14th Amendment is very clear. The qualifying clauses are the same as the disqualifying. You got to be 35, natural-born citizen, and you can't have engaged in insurrection or rebellion.
How did he engage?
Okay, here we go. So what happened on January 6th?
A bunch of people went in there, but not Trump.
No, he didn't have to. So what was the name of the rally?
So he didn't engage in it.
What was the name of the rally?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know because
so
Trump wasn't a part of it.
Well, okay. So the name of the rally was Stop the Steal. What was allegedly stolen, Brain?
From what I heard from people, not Trump, is that a lot of people thought the election was stolen. Whether Trump,
was it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, so let's use some critical thinking here, Brain. All right, over 60 court cases all said no. The Trump campaign and the administration paid for numerous audits. They all said there's no election fraud. Members of his own family, his own staff, his own cabinet, his agents in the FBI, his own attorney general, state officials, Republican state officials all across the country told him there was no fraud that would have overturned the results of the 2020 election. But yet he continued to believe it. He continued to lie about it. So that the name of the rally was Stop the Steal. So all summer long during the summer of 2020, what did Trump say about the election? Do you remember?
That if he loses, it's probably stolen.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. So he didn't lose. All right. I mean, he did lose, but it wasn't stolen. He lost the election. It was not stolen. So all summer long, he's been planting little seeds of doubt into his supporters' minds. Election night comes, full on. Then December, he sends out numerous tweets and he says, come to DC on January 6th. It's going to be wild. So his base is already fired up. They're already there. They're already on his side because they already believe, 71%, they already believe what is coming out of his mouth, that he lied to them, and they believed it. Then on the rally day, you get John Eastman saying trial by combat. You get Rudy, he said kick ass and take names. You get Rudy Giuliani that says trial by combat. You get Trump saying fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore. We're going to march to the Capitol. That's incitement. Okay?
He said
I'm sorry, what?
He said peacefully in that speech as well.
He did, but what did they do? Did they go peacefully or did they fight like hell?
He still said peacefully.
Oh, but what did they do, Bray? Because again, context matters. What did they do? Were they peaceful or did they fight like hell?
You're right. What did they do? Not Trump. You're right. What did they do?
But it's incitement. That's what he did is he incited.
So he didn't engage.
His
he
language.
just incited.
No, he engaged. He absolutely engaged. You don't have to participate in it. Like a mob boss calling it a hit. They didn't participate in it. but they called it in. He told his followers to go to the Capitol. He told them to do it, and they did it. That's incitement.
So
That's engaging in insurrection and rebellion, and that's what the judges determined. Now, the Supreme Court's going to decide one way or another. So, can you accept the results?
yeah, so you're saying if the Supreme Court and all that puts him back on the ballot and he goes right back on it, you're telling me then you're going to agree with that?
Yeah, because that's what the law says. That's their determination. I have to ask you the same
So,
question. If they,
right
wait,
now,
hold on, Brain, hold on. I'm going to ask you the same question. If the Supreme Court says that he's ineligible to run, will you accept it?
Yeah, I told you I'm not a full-on Trump supporter.
Okay, well, that's good to know because that's the decision. Now, also, do you think a president should have immunity?
Defined immunity over what?
So Donald Trump is claiming that the president should be immune from prosecution. And during this hearing that was with the D.C. Court of Appeals last week or 2 weeks ago, his attorney said, because one of the judges said, so what you're saying is that the president of the United States could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate one of his political rivals. And his lawyer said, basically, yes. Do you agree with that?
No.
So you think Donald Trump should be prosecuted if he's guilty?
If he's guilty.
Okay.
Of course, anyone that's guilty should be prosecuted.
Okay, so would you vote for him if he's found guilty?
Well, if he's prosecuted, I don't think I could vote for him. Could I?
Well, if he's found, yeah, you can. You can still vote for him, even if he's a convicted felon, because he can't vote for himself, but you could vote for him.
I thought that would remove him from the ballot, though.
Well, that's part of the conversation, right? So some people say there's no conviction required under the 14th Amendment. You don't need to be convicted of insurrection. It's literally just an interpretation. So if he's convicted, then there will be, because one of the charges that's filed against him in the J6 indictment is conspiracy to defraud the government, which is pretty serious. It's one of the more serious codes in our criminal code. So if he's then found to be guilty, and say, if, for example, the Supreme Court says, well, we don't think that he should be removed, that might change once he's convicted. The question I have for you, though, is would you vote for him if he's convicted?
No.
Good. Are you planning on voting for him now?
Well, depending on who his runner is up against. If it is against Joe Biden, then I will vote for Trump.
Okay.
Now, if it's anybody,
is there a bar though for you, Brain? Is there anything that Trump that's done up until this point that would disqualify him for you?
No.
So sexual abuse of a woman, that's not good enough for you?
That was never proven. He might have been found.
It was proven.
She said.
No, Brain, it went to court. Brain, it went to court.
Yeah.
The jury decided. A jury decided based on.
Yes, it decided. Yeah. It decided. A jury could decide against me. You're telling me people.
Brain, hang on a second. Let me ask you a question. So if he went to court. So if that jury said that he was not liable, would you accept that result?
When I accepted that result, I wouldn't have really cared if they did or didn't.
Okay, but you just said the jury can do whatever they want. So the jury, based on the evidence that was presented, based on the testimony that was presented, they decided that with a preponderance of the evidence, unanimously, by the way, that he sexually abused and defamed her. But you don't accept that?
I don't know. I mean, I meant he defamed her, but I don't know about the sexual assault part.
But he did it.
I don't know that. I don't know what the context was.
But he did it. But he did it, man. This is my point. So that's why I asked you the question, the way I asked you. If the jury had said he didn't do it, would you accept that?
I don't know because I don't know nothing about it. I don't accept it or don't accept it because I don't know. I can't speak on something.
How about accepting? It's not your responsibility to accept it. The jury's done that. What you have to ask yourself, hold on.
In the past.
But what you have to ask yourself is, can I still vote for this man who a jury has said sexually abused a woman? And
Yeah, anybody can still vote for him.
I'm asking you, will you still vote for him
Yes,
because of that?
yes, yes.
So, dude, do you understand how sick that is? Do you understand
You
how
know
sick this
how
is?
you know how sick everyone is in the politicians.
So,
Every
but we're
single one
talking
of
about,
them.
but bro, we're talking about, you just said you don't care that Donald Trump sexually abused a woman. You're still going to vote for him.
I don't believe it.
Of
Oh,
course you
because
don't. Of course you don't. Wow. There's still so many. There's still just so many. Gosh. Charles, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. I'm doing fine too, thanks. What's on your mind?
Oh no, I just was agreeing with you. You know, through Trump's whole presidency, he lied about everything. So why would people would believe what he says from the get go?
Well, a lot of people believe what he says. 71% according to this survey. I mean, I think it might even be higher than that, quite frankly. But you're right. Yep.
You know, and if people will really do their research, and go back that, you know, Donald Trump, he really wasn't serious about, becoming president. He was just using that as a tactic to, you know what I'm saying, to promote his name, his
Mm.
brand.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, back in I think it was 1996 when he first started running for president, he ran as a Democrat. He wasn't serious. He even said he had put his name in the hat just to, you know, um, to promote the Trump brand. So he really wasn't serious about, becoming president. It was all about money for him. It's about his brand.
Oh, yeah. I've said that before. I don't think he expected to win. I think he was just trying to rehabilitate his brand, and then all of a sudden he became president. Like, what the shit? What do I do now?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and for all these, well, I'm an independent. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I vote for the person that's going to look out for my family, for me, my family, basically. So that could be a Democrat, that can be a Republican. That's why you got to do, you know what I'm saying? You got to fact check. You got to do your research and see what this person is all about. And plus, I'm
Sure.
with the UAW.
That's great. You just got it. Then Joe Biden just got the endorsement from the UAW.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
And Joe Biden's a labor union guy. You should be a. I would imagine you're a Biden voter because of that, right?
Yes, I am. I voted for Biden, because of that. You know, um, so so yeah.
Cool.
Um, yeah, and oh, and for a lot of these Republicans, that's gun ho for Trump. Remember, you know what I'm saying? He said that the reason why he run as a Republican because Republicans was stupid and dumb.
Yeah, I mean, he talked
That
about
was
the
that was his
uneducated.
that was his words.
Yeah, he talked about the uneducated and things like that. Yeah, I mean, again, we've seen it. We've seen it happen quite a bit. I mean, a lot of Trump supporters don't seem to be willing to do any research. They tend to believe Trump's words over the evidence. There's just a lot of misinformation that they share every single day that we try to debunk. That's why we do this.
And I'm glad we have folks like yourself that does that because we need
Thanks, man.
many
Appreciate
more.
that.
We
Thank
need
you.
many more.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, brother.
I commend you.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Have a good night. I really appreciate you joining. Thanks a
All right, you
lot.
too.
All right. See ya. Be well.
Bye bye.
Bye. It is frustrating. I see a lot of friends, guys. I'll get to you. There's a lot of people in the box. I want to try to bring up some folks that I haven't spoken to before. So please just be patient, and we'll try to get to everybody tonight. Tyler, I see you, bro. Hang tight. We'll get you next. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, I made it was an accident. I didn't mean to get up there.
You want me to let me drop you back down?
Yeah, thanks.
You got it. No problem. You got it. All right. Let's see here. We'll go to Shelly. Continue to like and share, guys. We really appreciate that. Hi, Shelly. How are you tonight?
Hi, fine. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. What's on your mind?
So I was just kind of looking until I was able to go live. I couldn't see the whole visual that you had up there. So I kind of just got over here, and I kind of wanted to get like a little bit caught up on what specifically we were going in on right now.
Sure. What this is, it's a survey. I just thought it was kind of interesting. It was a CBS News YouGov poll from this past fall. I think it was October. They asked Trump voters what they tell you is true. And 71% of them said what Donald Trump tells me is the truth. 63% friends and family, and so on.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you for explaining that, because I was looking at it, I was like, okay, I think that I understand, but I wanted to clarify. Yeah, I deal with this with my own family. You know, I think a lot of people have been affected like this, families being split, people you can't talk to about things. It gets really frustrating when it's like, man, I'm your family. I'm not a stranger. It would be nice to have a conversation, but a lot of people have lost the ability to do that. I think that, like everybody has said, you know, there's a lot of research that people are just unwilling to do, and so when they don't do that, they just really ramble about unfactual things. I've said it in I said it in a live the other day. I always like to give my position because it maybe lends to why I do the things the way I do, but I'm an HR director and have been for 20 years. So my job is to screen candidates and get them in there and find the most suitable person, and then to manage that employee with the company for their tenure. If I have an employee that's in there and they are, toxic to the environment, maybe they do some okay work, maybe they have some good connections, but they're constantly not listening to the people put in charge of certain departments, or they're taking documents home they shouldn't be, or USB, right? You know, everybody signs an NDA, a non-disclosure, a non-solicitation. You know, we have everything. That's just for a regular company. So when those employees exist, I have no alternative but you terminate that employee. Because they cannot continue to run your organization into the ground. So I always have to let everybody know, look, I had to take the facts and I had to take things that were happening, and as an individual, I had to fire him. It doesn't mean that the guy that I hired after him was my first choice, but he's the choice I had of applicants. Moving forward, I always make it a point in human resources, I don't move backwards. I do not rehire an employee that wants to come back if they're not rehirable. If the actions they took while employed make them unhirable, I don't move backwards.
Sure.
So I have to continue moving forward with the candidate that I have placed in that position for the time being, until he decides to retire, or until, if he became toxic to the environment and was doing a lot of that stuff, then, I have to fire him too. I have to look at it very business. It's a business, unfortunately. And I just always kind of like to give just maybe a little bit different perspective on why I have to make decisions and why certain people make decisions they make. You do not know someone's background or experiences that lend to their decision-making skills. So I don't begrudge anyone for being a Trump voter. It makes me sad only because I feel like they think he cares about them. And that's just heartbreaking. So I just like to, I'm sorry, I'm long-winded, but I just wanted to give just kind of a different perspective that I think some people fall short of realizing. People don't just make decisions based on just the actual politics. Because if it was just about the politics, I would still have to vote for Biden because I need everybody to get out of my bedroom, my daughter's life, my life, my decisions. My health care has now been affected. These are a lot of things that I cannot overlook. So I have to continue on with the candidate that I have there, and I just kind of wanted to give a little bit different perspective as to why I did that.
I appreciate that, Shelley. I appreciate that. I mean, I think if it came down to strictly politics, Donald Trump would have never been elected in the first place because he has no politics. He's got no policy. He's never passed legislation. I mean, it's the emotion. We talk about this all the time. It's the emotion connected to it.
We have a lot of friends that are very, very wealthy, and we are not. We are your absolute middle class family that is struggling like everyone else. We have a lot of very, very wealthy friends, and they lost a lot of money. They had stocks and bonds and things like that. What people fail to forget or fail to remember is that most people are not operating at that financial level right now. So when I say that I was not financially affected by the switch from Trump to Biden, the only thing I can tell you that affected us personally was groceries and gas. Now, is that huge? Yes, but that is not just controlled by the president. We have had a global pandemic for 4 years. I'm in the medical field.
Right.
I deal directly, with it every day. So we have supply chain demands. For every day of lost work, it takes 3 days on average to recoup that work. The United States forgets that this is global, that the supply chain issues and things have been globally affected. So us seeing this trickle down effect is to be expected. Does it suck? Absolutely. But, when people are like, no, you saw a huge difference. Where? In my 401k that doesn't exist because I had to take it out to pay medical bills for our child? Or, what is it? It's very hard to be on this side of the aisle and also say, I'm a Christian, I'm a mom, I am a Blue Star mother, I am a bunch of different things. I have to look at all the different aspects and put them all together. So
that's right. I mean, democracy is not a spectator sport. You need to be involved. You need to do critical analysis of your candidates. That's why we're talking about this, because the people that I speak to that represent the right, in particular, that are MAGA and or Trump supporters, are very, very, they're not very well informed.
Correct.
They literally don't know what they're voting for.
They're like, you're pro-choice, so you're evil, you have no morals, you're not a Christian, you're a baby killer, you're this and that. I'm like, no, I'm in the medical field, so I understand sometimes there are medical necessity things to keep women and children alive. But I also, I'm a Christian. I'm not a great one. I try, though. I mean, isn't that the point? I'm supposed to just be kind. Great. Okay, I'm going to do that.
And start.
I'm just going to try. That's all I'm going to do is try, but I'm not going to crap on my neighbor every day. I'm not going to call him, I've heard the most horrible names from both sides. But it's just like, look, I'm not going to push my Christianity on you. I'm not going to push my beliefs on you. Can we just, if we're going to run a country, can it be about the country and not about my body, my decisions, my lover, my husband, my wife, my whoever I have?
Right.
I think that if that stuff had stayed out, we'd be in a different position. I think if Trump could just shut his mouth, he would have never even gotten out. He would have won if he could have stopped. If he could have just learned to zip it and take advice from those smarter than him, because everyone is surrounded by peers and people that are smarter than you. So you have to learn when to listen to those smarter than you. So I'm very long-winded. I'm absolutely so sorry for taking up that much time.
That's okay, Shelley. I appreciate you jumping up. You brought up a lot of really good thoughts. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
If you could dump me just because I don't know how to dump myself.
I got you. No problem. Have a good night. Thank you. I will be right back, my friends. My daughter just shared some really good news, and I want to go give her a hug. I'll be right back. I love you.
Love you.
I will. Sorry, friends. My daughter just got cast in a show that she's excited about, and I just wanted to send her a little love. She's auditioned for High School Musical. They're doing it this spring, and she got the part of Sharpay. And my daughter is Sharpay, so it's going to go very, very well. Okay. I just want to revisit this a little bit. Again, friends, if you could like and share the live, we'd really appreciate that. And if we want to draw some more MAGA in, if you throw some things out there that are in the chat that are Trump 2024 or Go MAGA, who knows? Thank you, guys. That's nice of you to say that. So what you're looking at is a chart from CBS News YouGov. I thought it was interesting because it speaks to a lot of what we talk about here regularly. About the information that people get and where they get it from and what they choose to believe. So Trump supporters were asked what they tell you is true. 71% of Trump voters that were asked in this particular survey believe that what Trump tells them is true. Over family, over media figures, over religious leaders. So that's interesting. Not surprising, not surprising at all, but interesting. So that's the reality of what we're talking about. And I think it's dangerous, but not surprising. The Legend, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that you had said when I came in, since I've come in. First and foremost, I just want to say I'm not like MAGA. I'm not any of that. Like, I'm not hardcore, about it. But let me ask.
Your opposition. You said your opposition.
I'm opposition. So. Yes, I'm opposition to some of the things you're saying, because I will take up for what I see. So who was the president on January 6th? Who was the sitting
2020, 2021?
Yes.
Donald Trump.
Okay, you cannot put an insurrection. You cannot incite an insurrection against yourself.
Sure, you can.
No, well, you can't. It's still that's simply not true.
What's the definition of insurrection?
You tell me.
Do you know?
I don't know the word for word off the top of my head.
So what do you think it is?
Why don't you just tell us? Don't gaslight me.
I'm asking you because you made a statement that you can't commit insurrection against yourself if you don't know what.
That's why I'm asking.
Well, if you don't know what the definition is, how can you have that statement?
Oh my God.
Well, bro, that's the way it works. If you don't know that, how can you make that claim if you don't even know what it is?
All right. So moving on. Okay. So moving on. So
no, we're not going to move on. So do you or do you not know the definition? It's a simple question, man.
Yes, I know the definition, word for word.
What is it?
What do you tell me what the definition?
Then what is it? What is your definition?
Let me pull it up. I'll read it for you.
Great, go for it. I can tell you what it is. I know it verbatim.
Please do.
It's a violent act or uprising against a government or authority.
Okay, and if it's a sitting president, he's the authority at the time.
Right, but what's happening on that day? What was the reason for January 6th constitutionally? What's the date? What do they do that day?
We know what they do. We know what they do.
Tell me what they do, bro. Look, if we're going to have a conversation, hold on a second. You want to have a conversation, okay? You can't play this "what about" game. I'm going to ask you questions. You can choose to answer. If you don't know, just say I don't know. Okay. So what were they in the Capitol to do that day?
Oh my God! I'm not going to sit here and answer foolish questions. I mean, we all know what it was. Like, come on, like.
Then why don't you say it? Just say it. What was it?
Why don't you just say it? Like, you're gaslighting. You're trying to gaslight. That's what you were doing to the last guy.
No, I'm asking you questions. I need to know what you understand. Do you understand or not? It's a simple question.
I understand completely. Yes, I understand. Who the sitting president was? That's what we're talking about. The sitting president was Donald Trump, and you cannot incite an insurrection.
Okay, listen. I know you're getting emotional. You're getting all up in your feels now. I get it. If you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know the answer. You don't even know what gaslighting is, by the way. So if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know the answer. If you'd like to have a conversation, let's have it. I'm giving you an opportunity to talk. So why were they there? What was happening in Congress on that day? Tell me. You can unmute. The Legend. You can unmute. Legend going once. Legend going twice. Bro, are you going to unmute or what? Okay, he doesn't know. Jesus, it's just crazy. It's crazy. Oh my God. I know he's probably just sitting there talking, thinking he's been connected to the live. It's weird. It's very strange. Patricia, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. I came across your TikTok by just scrolling through it. It came on my TikTok feed, and the 71%, to be very honest, is scary.
Oh, tell me about it. I think it's low. I think that's low.
And I always would compare Donald Trump's cult to Jim Jones. I wasn't born when Jim Jones did Jonestown and all that stuff in Guyana, but if people do a study, they will see the similarities of the Kool-Aid and everything. But at this point, though, I think he has that 71% in a chokehold.
Yeah.
And they can't move away from it, because if they do, he's gonna say something that's going to make them feel bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, we've heard it before. I mean, I've asked people. Again, thank you for joining my live. Thank you for finding me. I've had this conversation with many people, and it's not just that they believe Trump. Their response is, "Why wouldn't I believe him?"
Exactly.
That's the worst part to me. It's one thing to say, like, you want to take the word of somebody that you want to take the word of somebody that you respect, right? So if they respect him, then I can understand that. But they ask themselves that question. A guy that lied over 35,000 times while he was president, a guy that sexually abused women, that's frauded the government, that's frauded the citizens of New York, that stole from a cancer charity. The list goes on and on. So then they say, well, why wouldn't I believe him?
And I tell people,
the scary part.
I live in Florida, and I don't know if this state can ever go back to some type of normalcy, to be honest, politically, because you have to be careful what you say, how you say it, who you say it to, because people might kill you, they might shoot you, they might disrespect you. So it's kind of like, you vote for Biden. Why you vote for Biden for? Why you like him? I'm like, because the country's normal for once. Like, I didn't get sleep for 4 years.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Joe Biden's boring.
He's boring,
by design. I agree. He just gets shit done. He works hard. He gets shit done.
He's boring, and that's what he's supposed to be. Every time you turn on the TV from 2017 till 2021, is something of Donald Trump doing something of Russia, something with him trying to incite an insurrection. Like, dude, why? If you claim that your election was stolen in 2020, why do you want the job so bad in 2024?
Exactly right. I mean, he's even telling his voters now, Patricia, you know, don't vote. It's rigged. The whole thing is rigged.
Why would I go back?
Make up your mind.
Why would I go back? I'm facing 91 charges. I can't pay my lawyers. I have to not pay a lady $83 million. I don't have that money. Why would I want to put myself back in the spotlight for people to dig up my dirt once again, like they did in 2020?
Because he doesn't want to go to jail.
Like, dude, why are you doing this to yourself? Are you mad because Obama got two terms and you didn't? Like,
yeah, that's why. Because, you know, a black president, I'm better than a black man because I'm white. That's his mindset behind it.
And I'm like, dude, like, why would you put yourself back in this spotlight again? And why are y'all following a man that has no credibility or no liability? Like, he's a liability to y'all. They keep telling y'all that, but y'all don't listen. I mean,
I know. You're right. Yep, that's part of it. You know, these numbers, again, I'm surprised. To be honest, I wouldn't think it would be higher than that. But again, for me, that it's above family and friends is the weirdest part.
I would not take anything from Donald Trump. The man can't even, he's always arguing for deceased person.
I know.
He's either arguing for deceased president or confusing Nancy Pelosi with Nikki
Haley.
Nikki
Haley, yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, why would you want to put yourself back in that again? Like, Republicans, why?
I know.
Why are you letting this man drive y'all down a hole that you'll kind of come out of? Why?
I know.
What power?
You're right, Patricia. I mean, this is the world we live in. This is why we're talking about it. So I appreciate you you jumping in tonight to share your thoughts. Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
You have a good night. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, I mean, it's alarming to see it, but nobody should be surprised by it. I mean, nobody should be surprised by this. I mean, nobody. I mean, it's what we see and live every single day, every day, every single day. And again, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's not higher. Claw Sport, how are you tonight? Claw Sport.
I'm doing good. How about yourself? I'm
Doing fine,
good.
thank you. What's on your mind tonight, sir?
Well, I wanted to touch on you talked earlier with a cat that was really didn't have any backup in anything he was saying. But one thing I wanted to hit on was these E. Jean Carroll cases.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. He put up the 5 million, right? No problem on that first one. He had that dispensable cash. I don't think he's that cash rich. Sure, he's got a lot of assets, but I think they're under a receivership or something. And
go ahead. Sorry.
I don't believe he's going to be able to use that as collateral to get a loan or a bond on the 83 million.
Well, yes, you're correct about the $5 million. He did have to put that up for bond. So if he wants to appeal this case, he has to put up the $83 million. If he chooses to not appeal, then the court will work out when that payment is due. So he's going to have to pay either way. He's either going to have to pay to appeal, and you have to put the bond up, and then if the appeal is denied, then it immediately goes to Ms. Carroll, or the court will tell him when he has to pay by.
Okay, I get you. Also, I wrote down a few little notes just because this one guy was talking about you were trying to tell him about the jury, and they have already said yes, he did this abuse, and yes, he is liable, and he was freaking out about it, saying, well, I just don't believe it. Well, that's how our judicial system works.
That's right.
We do our civic duty. We all get the little summons or whatever. We all go, and some of us are picked as jurors. And that decision stands once that judge rules on the decision of the jurors.
That's correct.
And we respect that with all the rapists that are in prison right now.
Let's not use that word, sir.
Okay, I got you. Abuse.
Yeah.
So what's the big deal, guys? These guys, like the lady said about Jim Jones, they are under a spell, and it spooks me out. So I'm done. I don't want to waste your time. This is the first time I've ever went live, and it's really cool.
Cool, man. That's cool, man. I appreciate that. Well, welcome aboard. It's fun. You're welcome to come on back anytime you want.
All right, I appreciate it, and I'll be back.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right, bye. That's cool. Second night in a row we've had first timers. I think that's kind of cool. Thank you, friends. Continue to like and share. Exciting night around my house. I can hear my daughter screaming with all of her friends over her casting, which is great. It's going to be awesome. Please continue to like and share. Looks like the lovely Lost. You're having a connection issue. You're more than welcome to request again. I'll drop you back down. I see you, friends. I haven't forgotten. Don't worry. I'll get to you all. I promise. Just trying to get through some people that I haven't spoken to before. It's cool. She's excited. Hey, Keith. How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm great. I was just looking at some of your numbers up there What one thing that I can't get my head wrapped around is how people are following Donald Trump. I can't get my head around it. If he was anybody else that ran for the president with all his background, there's no way they would have ever even made it to the White House.
Well, if you're asking me why I think he has such a strong following, I'll put it to you this way. We know who he is. We know that he's a narcissist, racist, bigot, transphobe, homophobe, you name it. And his supporters have similar ideology. I'll leave it right there.
I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And
that's part of it. That's the draw for them, because they feel like if the president of the United States can act that way and say those things, then I can too.
Yes. And what gets me are people that say they're Christians also. And and they say they're Christians. And you know, I have dealt with people about Donald Trump, and once he came out about grabbing and all that, oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay. They give him a pass, but everybody else is held accountable. The things that Donald Trump have done, if Joe Biden would have done, they already trying to ridicule Joe Biden. And I mean, I'm not a huge Joe Biden fan, but he is doing a good job.
Yeah, he is.
And numbers shows, and everybody was talking about, oh, when the economy was so great under Donald Trump. That economy that he took was already great. And it was actually getting better when he came into office.
Yeah.
Because how everything was set up, it was actually getting even better. And then when he came in, and somebody with his competent, I mean, time that COVID came in, he dropped the ball.
And he actually dropped the ball.
And everything was already in line for that. And he dismissed it. Oh, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need this here. We're going to do it my way.
Well, think about that for a second, Keith, too. One of the main reasons that I think that the Trump administration, at the direction of Donald Trump, tore up the Obama administration's pandemic response playbook was because Barack Obama was a black president and Donald Trump couldn't stand that. And that's the reason. And it is my belief, again, my opinion, I don't care if people can agree or disagree, but that's my belief. Anything that Obama touched, Trump wanted to get rid of it. That would include, you name it, the Affordable Care Act, the pandemic response, all of it. All of it.
And I believe that a president, and I hear a lot of people say, well, Barack didn't do a lot for black people. I hear that a lot. I'm a black man. I'm a 52-year-old black man. I want a president to do for everybody. I don't want him to single out a particular group. I want him to be able to help the poor, the veterans, the homeless. Right. I want him to help everybody. I don't want a handout. I get up every day, several days a week, and go out and make my living. I feel like my duty as a human being is to be able to leave my mark to help somebody else.
Right.
And
that's our goal.
And I just don't believe Donald, and I might be wrong, but this is how I feel. Tucker Carlson and all these different people have put in these people's head about this replacement theory.
I know.
And I feel like that's a big part of what's going on the border now. They're scared. Oh, they're going to take our jobs. They're going to take our livelihoods. And a lot of these people are coming across the border are just trying to make ends meet for their family. You cannot knock a man for trying to make things better for their family, because that's what I do every day when I get up and go to work.
Me too.
I get up so I can make things better for my family.
Me too.
And like I said, I really believe. I mean, if you got a president that's backed by the KKK, the Triple K,
Yep.
Triple K's, the Proud Boys, Mother of Liberties, the one that took all these. If you lost a war, and you're gonna take all these statues and put them up just to remind people of what history was about, and then they say, "Oh, it's my heritage." Your heritage was about hate. The Civil War was about Nikki Haley. The Civil War was about slavery. It was about maintaining all the goods that they can get and make as much money they could on the backs of other people.
Absolutely, brother. You're absolutely right. And that's part of why the right does not want history taught, because they can't defend it.
They can't defend it. And you know what? And it's not about Ron DeSantis. It's not about making the next kid feel bad. But you only know where you at by where you came from.
That's exactly right. Otherwise, history has a tendency to repeating itself,
It
which is why we have to teach it.
automatically repeat itself.
Exactly.
So if you don't know where you came from and you don't have no idea what happened, and everything been so whitewashed throughout the years. And I love this TikTok thing because over the last 5 years, I have learned so much about my history, and I'm a 52-year-old man because I was never taught in school.
That's right. That's exactly right, bro.
The truth is the truth. When the truth come out, it is what it is. I mean, whether it was bad or good, it's the truth.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's why we have to talk about it. And that's why it's good to have opportunities for conversations like this, Keith. So thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you joining. I just followed you.
I appreciate it. I followed you back.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
so much.
Have a good night. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Well. All right, bye. I mean, that's the ticket, right? I mean, those are the conversations, and the reality of it is that he's a perfect example. As a black man, he was even unaware of some of the history because our society's been conditioned to not want to talk about it. That's why I think it bothers people so much when we bring up DEI or we bring up wanting to have conversations revolving regarding our own history. In the conversation around CRT, which is not taught in primary school, it's taught in secondary and higher education. I didn't know about Black Wall Street. I didn't know about the Tulsa Massacre until later in life. So I think it's necessary. That's part of why we have to have these conversations. And I don't know why people would be so afraid of that. It's not going to make somebody feel bad. It's just history. It is what it is. We don't want it to repeat itself. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. That's why we do it. That's why. James, how are you tonight? James Addison? James Addison?
Oh.
Hi there.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there. Did you have something you wanted to talk about, James?
Well, the thing I want to talk about, like you say, is beyond me how they can have the truth and not believe it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
true.
I mean, and then when I look at it like from the standpoint of view is when you have uh, all these indictments. If that would have been any one of us, we'd have been under the jail by now.
It's very true. No doubt about it. Very true.
But people want what they want. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate that, James. Thank you, friend. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye-bye. Again, he's right. People, when you fall into a narrative, and I think that where I've come around on this whole Trump phenomenon thing, and for Trump supporters in particular, is that I've spoken to enough, and this isn't my first rodeo. I've been doing, media and all kinds of stuff for most of my adult life. So I've had many conversations with many people, and I can figure people out pretty quickly. And you can hear it in a person's voice when they know that they're on the losing side of an argument. and they know that the evidence that's being presented to them is factual, and they're unwilling to admit it because in many cases, MAGA in particular, they've attached their entire identity to Trump in MAGA. So everything, their lives are about it because they are so convinced that this guy is their savior, for lack of a better term. So as soon as someone says, shit, I was wrong, then their entire world just crumbles around them. And it's sad, yes, Colorado bomb, you're right. It's sad, but it's also a decision that they've made. They've made that choice, and they're now in it. And the only way to come out of it, it's not going to be somebody like me. Maybe I might be able to convince one or two people, but for the most part, it's MAGA. It's the delusion that is MAGA. It is a cult. There's no doubt about it. When 71% of his supporters believe his words over their own family. I was asked earlier, well, it's the same for the Democrats. No, it's not. If I hear something from a political leader on the left, I don't just take their word for it. I want to research it and find out. See, that's what the left does that the right doesn't do, at least in modern politics. We will hold our politicians accountable. They're employees. They have to earn my vote. I vote for them to do a job. If they don't do their job, I will vote their asses out. That's how it works. You've got to be able to critically analyze your candidates. And that's the ironic part about it, is that people on the left know far more about Trump's policies and or lack thereof than people who vote for him. People on the left have read the indictments. People that vote for him haven't. People on the left are aware of Project 2025 and Agenda 47. People on the right aren't. So you're so ill-informed and low education in regards to the politicians that you vote for. Why? Exactly, AJ. Know your enemy. I mean, that's exactly right. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand that concept, but that's where we are, I guess. It is what it is. Citizen, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you. What is on your mind tonight?
Man, I just wanted to talk about it, man. I kind of wanted to just listen to you guys talk, man. I wanted to just kind of say I was in the MAGA, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was.
Okay.
I was like in the first election. Like I didn't vote for Trump. I was more of a Bernie bro. And I guess it was more like, kind of dissatisfied with the political system. I kind of felt I don't know. I guess I felt maybe disenfranchised. So I was kind of like just watching the whole Trump election or administration. I wasn't really looking at what was going on. I was kind of like, yeah, it's good. Everything's good. But in reality, it's not, man. It's not at all. Like after January 6th and just seeing all the gaslighting, all the like these indictments, Steve, all the criminals and crooks he was around. It's literally a cult.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally a cult. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, and it's like, some people I was talking to who I kind of used to, they were like, oh, no, you're grifting now, stuff like that. Like, what are you talking about? There's no bigger grifter than Donald Trump. I mean, he's begging his supporters for money. I heard about that family that killed themselves because Trump lost. There's nobody on the left doing that, right? Like, there's literally nobody. No. And once you actually start reading policy and educating yourself, it all makes sense. And I know I'm not the only one, I mean, I guess I'm just here to say, if anybody's out there, man, it's okay to come, realize you're in a cult, realize that you were lied to every step of the way. It's okay. It's all good. Escape the cult, because that's all it is.
Well, so I'm curious, Lou. What was the final straw for you? Because you said you were MAGA. So was J6? Was that the final straw for you? What was it?
Well. So I'm a vet, right? And he was doing some good things for the vets too, in a way. So I kind of was like, oh, I was kind of like selfish, like, oh, I'm good. I don't care what what else everybody else is talking about, but Just all the the racism, the other the militia groups, that was a big thing. The abortion. I never really understood why that was such a huge thing, forcing women to have pregnancies, that they didn't want. I was never really on board with that.
Mm.
The immigration. I'm out here in San Diego. I have, I talk to Mexicans and other, my girlfriend's Venezuela. So it was just like I was never really on. I never. I don't really don't know, to be honest, how I got caught up in it. Facts, like.
Interesting.
But
Well,
once
now
you,
that you say it's
go
funny,
ahead.
bro. Now that you think it through, it's like you just said, you're not even sure yourself what kind of drew you in. I have a question for you about the military because I know, and thank you for your service. And I think what the conversation that I've had with many vets is that a lot of the places that they've been stationed, it's Fox News that's on 24/7. Was that your experience as well?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
true.
So that's got powerful influence, and I wonder if a lot of people, especially people who are young, 18 years old, if you enlist for the first time, then that's what you're going to be exposed to, and it's going to set your narrative for many years. And I worry about that. We do know from the 2020 election that the majority of military votes went to Biden. We know that from exit polling. We know that from statistical data. So that's good. That's good that people saw through that. So it probably doesn't surprise you that there are a lot of people that are MAGA that are in the military.
Yeah, exactly. And it was 100%. Like, it was the lack of, like you said, the lack of education, not being politically really cool. I wasn't really following anything. It was just, just not, the culture warrior nonsense. Some instances where, you're not really following, like, and a lot of things, a lot of vets don't really understand that a lot of things that they enjoy, Democrats are trying to give, free health care and all these other things, like proper schools for your kids, like the DOD does. So
That's
like
right.
it was
Things to
just
make things to make our lives better, right, bro?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. My dad was always trying to, like, bring me back around, but I find, I came back around. I don't really know. That's a good question, Facts. I'm still trying to answer that question. I guess it was a culmination of things. And I just was like, you know what? I'm like, damn, I was wrong. Excuse me. I was like, yeah, I'm wrong, man. Like I'm actually like, wow, I'm in the wrong here. People was telling me like, oh, yeah, what are you doing? Y'all went to college. They're like, why are you in this? And I guess sometimes you get so deep into it, you don't really know where you're at.
Yeah, that's part of it, right? That's it. I mean, that's the cult right there. I mean, I think you described it very, very well. When you're in it, you don't even realize you're in it, and then everybody else is the enemy. So I appreciate you stepping out of it, bro. Thank you very much for doing that because we need
Oh,
more people like you talking out against it. I appreciate that.
oh man, exactly. Because I also saw like black MAGA. That was another
Ooh,
thing too. Like I kind of noticed like all these black conservatives, they never really challenged the status quo. All their audiences were all white people, racist MAGA and stuff like that. I'm like what, like it just, 2 plus 2 wasn't equaling 4. I was like, like what's this is odd. Like all y'all do all day, you just talk bad about black people all day, or if you Latino, you talk about the border, but you can't talk about corporations. You can't talk about racism, because I'm from
right.
Mississippi,
Hmm.
right? So you can't talk about these police officers beating up black men, torturing them in Mississippi. You can't talk about that.
I
That's
know.
what that. I'm not, you're not allowed to speak on it. It's like you actually are silenced.
I know.
If you're on that side, because it's a cult.
It is a cult. It is a cult, bro. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks a lot for jumping in and talking tonight. It
Have me
was
on,
good to get to know
Facts.
you. Appreciate that. Thank you,
Have a good
buddy.
one.
You too, brother. Thanks a lot. Be well. I got you. Randall Miller, I just sent you an invite because you said veterans for Trump, and I want to unpack that a little bit. So if you could please accept and we can have a conversation, Randall, because I really would like to have that conversation. Hey, man, how's it going? Welcome back, Anthony. Making some money? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Randall Miller, I sent you an invite. You got plenty of followers. I'd love to talk to you about that because you said veterans for Trump, and I'm just really, really curious about that. So
Yeah.
please take a moment to join us because I would really like to have that conversation. He's going to run. I know he's going to run away. That's what they do. Hey, Kyle, how are you tonight?
Hey, I didn't actually think I'd get on this, but so kind of a nice surprise.
Cool.
I
What's on
just,
your mind?
well, one of the things I was noticing here as you're talking, because I'm in a very red state, Indiana.
Okay.
In fact, I voted for Trump. 2016 was very hard into that wave, but I noticed the closer we got to 2020, the policies seem to definitely affect my area as far as economic goes, because he was very big into, it seemed like, stimulating the manufacturing type economy at that time. So I saw a lot of positivity come out of that. But when I was looking at the TV, there's, like somebody else said tonight, the more he ran his mouth, the more trouble he created for himself. And now I'm at the point where, personally, I see myself more independent. Like I could see myself going for an RFK type. But my big idea that I was seeing on here is you're talking about.
I want to unpack that with you when you're done with this about RFK. So feel free to continue, but I want to come back to that.
Okay. One of the big things I wanted to point out is because I'm from this area, there's a lot of very high school educated level. They didn't go very far past that. A lot of tradesmen, a lot of factory, not a lot of high education here. And unfortunately, when you are the more educated person in a conversation, you have to have more patience with the uneducated, because the moment you start throwing around your level of education, intelligence, then they automatically get called out for stupid. It's going to affect their ego, and you're immediately going to lose their ear. So when you go forward in those conversations, it takes a lot of patience to talk to these people that are so stuck in their ways, because a lot of times you're not going to change them. But if you have the patience and the time, there might be a possibility of changing.
Yeah, I guess it depends how far you're dug in. So, I want to go back to the fact that you want to support RFK. So, how much research have you done into RFK?
I've listened to a few of the podcasts. I don't get a lot of time to do a lot of personal digging and reading of the policies. I spend a lot of time. I'm at work, and when I'm at home, I've got 2 toddlers right now, so a lot of my focus is on family and work. I don't have a lot of time to do other stuff. So the very little bit I get is between news clips, video clips here and there, and I always understand I have to take that with a grain of salt.
You do. So what's the reason? What's the reason you're drawn to him? Is it just because he's different? Because he's somebody different?
Some of the things he said about, and this was one of the few things I did look up, the BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, and how they are the top 3 shareholders in almost any company you look up.
Many.
And they have a lot of holdings, and how I think it was BlackRock that is very actively buying up single family homes. And
yeah,
that
it's
has a
not just
lot of,
BlackRock. It's not just BlackRock. It's a lot of venture capital firms across the country that are doing that. It's just not.
but
It's not.
there's a lot of,
I'm not defending BlackRock. It's just not just them.
right. So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of corporate type entities buying up single family homes. And that is, in my opinion, very, very devastating to the housing market, because fortunately for me, I can find a single family home under 100,000, but there's a lot of areas where your average house price is 300,000 to 800,000.
Right. So, but again, why would that be? Because that's been talked about in all circles for a while. Why would that be your vote for RFK? I'm going to cut to the choice. I'm going to cut to the chase here, Kyle. RFK is a known anti-vaxxer and an anti-Semite. So I'm just trying to understand, and also a conspiracy theorist. So I'm just curious as to why he would get your vote. You've got 2 young children. Now, do you want a person who is an anti-vaxxer, anti-Semite in the White House?
I have, like I said, I've listened to his podcasts, and when you listen to him talk, he seems to be very level-headed and showing certain
Kyle, can you answer my question, please?
I guess what I'm saying is I don't agree with your labeling of him being anti-vaxxer per se. I am
there's no per se. He's an anti-vaxxer. Okay, again, you said earlier that you did not do a lot of research into this guy. You admitted that. You said you don't have the time, you work, you've got toddlers, you've just seen some interviews and some podcasts. So you either know about him or you don't. So if you don't know a lot of his history, just be honest. Just be sincere that you don't know a lot of his history because
I don't know a lot
you
about him. But what I'm saying is what I have heard.
Hold on. Hold on. Like you said, you don't know a lot about him. I've done a lot of research on this guy, okay? That's part of why I do this. His entire family wants nothing to do with him anymore because of his conspiracy theories, because of his anti-vaccine sentiment, and because he's anti-Semite. Is that not enough information for you? That's kind of my point, man. Like, if you're about to make a decision that has impact on everybody else, including your kids, and you don't know about this guy's history. And then you said to me that you don't agree with my evaluation of him, but yet you don't even know anything about him. So I know more about him than you do, and you're going to vote for him.
I'm saying I feel like a lot of people are quick to put labels on things.
It's not a label. It's fact. It's not a label. But once again, I know more about him than you do, and yet you're going to vote for him.
I said I would be more likely to vote for him. I don't like any choice.
Okay,
but I feel like I need to exercise my right.
Fair enough. Everybody should. But is being an anti-vaxxer, being anti-Semite, and being a conspiracy theorist, are those not deal breakers for you?
To the point where he's willing to do science that other people aren't.
Like what?
Well, he's pointed out that there's a lot of vaccines that haven't been put up against a control group where there was no.
Absolutely wrong. Again, you're done. I'm not going to deal with this QAnon bullshit. Here we go again. They're out in force. Ridiculous. I mean, give me a break. Yeah. Thanks, Jason. Yeah. It's just, it's crazy. Look, guys. The legal system is going to do what it does when it comes to Trump. Okay. But your responsibility as a voter is to critically analyze. All right. That's the responsibility. My concern is that people on the right are just too lazy. You've got to be able to do some analysis on the people that you vote for. That's your job. You've got to be able to make that determination. Now, our previous guest admitted that he's not done any research, but yet that wanted to disagree with the premise. You don't have to believe me. Just look up RFK's history. Look it up. His entire family has basically disowned him because of his stance on things. He's backpedaled and scrambled so many times. And why is it that people on the left know more about these people than the people on the right? The people that say they're going to vote for somebody or are thinking about it, and yet you don't know anything about your candidates. It's sad. It's really sad. And again, it's not on me. It's not on myself or Anthony or anybody else to help guide you through this. I mean, I'm happy to, but do some work. Do a little bit of research. Don't come up in here. It is embarrassing. Don't come in here and make this claim like you think it's. Again, if you have a reason, say, look, I like RFK. He's different. I know he's got some anti-Semitism in his past, and I'm trying to rationalize my vote for him. And he said some interesting things about COVID because that's all factual. Those things are all proven. They're all proven that he's done it, and yet you're still going to vote for him. That's not the flex that you guys think it is, and that's the worst part about it. It's not the flex that you think it is. It's really not, and it bothers me for so many because you're going to fall into that same trap you did with Trump. You're going to believe a soundbite. Pretty sad. Pretty sad. Continue to like and share, guys. I would really appreciate that. And just to level set with people that have asked, Rock and Robbie tried to bring you up, bro. Does not look like you're connecting. You can request again. This is a CBS News YouGov poll. Trump supporters were asked what they tell you is true. So the idea was, what these people tell you, do you believe it to be true? 71% that they believe what Donald Trump tells them to be the truth. Over family, over conservative media figures, and over religious leaders. That's the story, right? That's the whole story. That's the cult behavior. That's exactly what we've been talking about forever. And it's, quite frankly, it's pretty sad. I am about to lose battery here, but I'll fix that in a minute. Don't worry about me. So that's where we're at. Let's continue to have this conversation, though. Sorry, folks, I'm trying to get everybody tonight. I'm just trying to bring up some folks I haven't spoken to before or haven't spoken to in a while. So I see a lot of friendlies in the box. Hang in there. I'll try to get everybody. TOP, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
A couple of statements that were made in your life. And I want to start, I'm going to be very brief. I'm not a long talker. So
Okay.
I want to make 4 points. People seem to forget the long history of Trump's criminality. Like the guy goes back, I think he's got over 4,000 judicial procedures against him for defrauding his contractors and not paying them.
Something like that.
Like it's a known fact. And considering that he had up to maybe 20 people in his cabinet that were all indicted, like it's crazy to me that people are overlooking this. And they're sort of believing he's made his entire career out of grifting people. And it's not because he's president now that they're coming after him. They've been trying to get at him for a very long time. It just took a while. Right? So that's my first point. The second point was made by Keith, one of your previous guests, about Obama. Obama did actually do a lot for Black people. They just don't realize it. He didn't do it specifically for them, but he did it for them first and foremost in mind. He's a prudent man. He wasn't going to do anything specific for Black people only. Rightly or wrongly, that's a debatable point. But he knows the system in which he was operating, and doing something for Black people specifically, I think, would have backfired more given the atmosphere of the United States. And the last point that I want to make is that January 6th was planned. It was not a spontaneous riot. It was not a protest. It was an insurrection, and it was planned. It was so planned that some senators is said allegedly to have given some of the groups, Oath Keepers, Boogaloo Boys, 3%ers, tours of the Capitol so that they would know which way to go. So, but oftentimes I don't hear that spoken enough on TikTok in those live debates. I think this is a very important point to bring up when people are saying, oh, well, he said peaceful. The guy is a grifter. He's a criminal. He knows how to speak. There's a reason why he's not going to compromise himself deliberately by saying things he knows will get him into trouble. So he's going to dance around the corner. That's why all MAGA are Trump whisperers. Like they always know what he meant. It's just crazy to me because some of us are looking at it. No, that's not what he meant. We understood what he meant. And what you understand of what he's saying is not it. That's not it. Anyway, I've landed my plane. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I appreciate you, TOP. I mean, I think that's a really good perspective, and I completely agree with everything you said. Thank you very much for joining tonight. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Have a good night. He's right. I mean, for people, again, we know J6 was planned. There's evidence. We do know that these tours happen. There's video footage. We saw Barry Loudermilk was one of the members of Congress who got all up in his feels because he got called out by giving tours. And he scrambled and scrambled and scrambled. I just got to deal with this real quick. Hang tight. We talked about this earlier. So there is now a request that's been submitted to the House of Representatives. It's for the Sergeant of Arms of the House that he is going to appear for a subpoena. I think the interesting piece about this is that there obviously is a plan, because we know that Scott Perry, who's a member of Congress who was in communication with Trump specifically around changes in the hierarchy of the Department of Justice, specifically the Attorney General's office. He was in communication with those people. Anyway, long story short, there was references to what's referred to as the speech and debate clause. That is it's kind of like, look at it as sort of like executive privilege for members of Congress. So speech and debate means that as long as you are doing work that's specific to your role as a member of Congress, then the things that you say in those discussions are privileged. They can't be used against you. So the claim has been made that any conversations around J6 or fake electors or whatever it may be, the claim that they tried to make was that that's all protected by speech and debate. Judges have already said, no, it's not. So that's why Scott Perry's cell phone data had to get turned over. That's why all these other things happened. So we're going to see. So you're going to see a lot more information that comes out specifically from those. And I've said all along that there are more indictments coming, many more, in fact. Not only those that we just talked about, but I think that there's likely going to be another indictment for dissemination of classified information from the tape we've heard that Trump shared classified information. Yeehaw! Trump shared classified information with people who didn't have it. So there could likely be an indictment there. And also for wire fraud. So this doesn't really get talked about enough, but raising money for the Stop the Steal rally when you know full well that the election was not stolen, and you do that via the internet, is a cyber crime, wire fraud specifically. And that's got a pretty serious penalty tied to it. It's criminal charges, not just civil. So that could be another one. I'm not obsessed with Falcon. I'm not obsessed with Trump. He's running for president. That's why I have to talk about it. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should pay more attention to the things he's done. But that's, again, those are all the things that are sort of happening that are going on out there. We'll see. We'll see where it goes, right? We'll see where it goes. Why do you think that won't be a charge, Chris? Like, I don't know why you think that won't be a charge. How do you know that? How would you know that won't be a charge? That's what I'd like to know. Like, how do you know that? Do you have insider information? I'd be curious. I would be curious to know that. If you have inside information, please share. Hey, Stephen, how are you tonight? Stephen? Hello? Stephen? Stephen Cooper? Stephen Cooper? Are you there? Okay, I guess not. Sorry. Hello there. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
What's on your
cool.
mind?
Pardon me?
What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, I just did a couple things. I've been listening to a lot of live today because I've been cleaning closets and stuff like that. But I just want to say that my problem with everything going on right now really stems from all the propaganda and the lies that are so totally believed by a lot of people on the right, and that's a real problem. They haven't read the indictments. They haven't read 2025. All they do is listen to propaganda. I was listening to a guy today, and he was talking about, well, this thing that Obama did, but I haven't fact checked it yet, and he stated it anyway, and it was a lie. So now all his listeners think that's true because he said it, and it was a lie. So I have a problem with that. And the other thing I want to just mention is that, they don't understand, they think we think MAGA is stupid. I don't think anybody is stupid. I think we're all equal, and I believe in live and let live. I don't want to put down anyone. But one of the problems I have with MAGA is they dress like they're going to a football game. So they can't go anywhere that you don't know what team they play for. And if they just would stop wearing the gear, I think we could come together a lot better. I just don't know why they have to separate themselves so much. They've done the separating. We've not done the separating.
That's true. I mean, I wish I shared your sentiment as far as like I don't want to give people names, but I've had enough conversations with people in MAGA to identify the fact that they're just very low as far as their willingness to be informed. They don't have information on their side because they're either it's a one of two things. They're either too lazy, which is probably possible, or they're just unwilling to look at the information because 71% believe the words that come out of Donald Trump's mouth. So they feel like they don't have to do any work. So I think it's low IQ, low information,
I think it
quite
is
frankly.
too. They just want to get their information off the internet and what anybody tells them, and that's why I don't like these people. I mean, usually I don't listen to the far right guys, but today I did because I wanted to see what was on their minds. And it's a
Yeah.
lot of propaganda, and that's what these people are absorbing. And I don't know how we change that, but we got to come together. And the only way I can think of is to vote blue this next election so that we can get rid of MAGA and then go from there and try to bring everybody back together and totally get rid of MAGA, all the politicians that are MAGA, and just eliminate that cancer that's part of the landscape these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I mean, I think that's why the urgency for people to be voting Democrat. I mean, I think that we have to because the opportunity's on us, right? I mean, the responsibility goes with us to decide how we want our country to be. If you want fascism, either don't vote or vote Republican.
Right.
If you
Or
want
vote for
democracy,
JFK. RFK, sorry.
yeah, I wouldn't do that either. If you want democracy, then you vote Democrat. Look, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of issues that I have with the two party system. I think a lot of people would like to blow it up. I would too, but we can't do that unless we have a foundational basis to save democracy. So if you want progressive candidates, then you got to vote blue to get us there. If you want a future that involves more than just the two party system, then you got to vote blue to get us there. Because if you've read Project 2025 or Agenda 47, you know the Republicans do not want anything other than fascism and an autocratic society. And it's on all of us to try to fix it.
Right, exactly. And they don't know anything about that. The
Nope.
people that are talking on these talk shows they're oblivious. I'm a first time live person myself. I just started TikTok a few months ago, and
Good.
it's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. A lot
It
of
is.
propaganda, and I try to call out the propaganda when I see it. You know, I go to the beauty shop and the the gal that washes my hair says, "Well, at least Trump built the wall." And I said, "No,
Oof.
he didn't."
Yeah, he
He
didn't.
only built 400 and something miles of wall. Other than that, it was just rebuilding wall that was there. But people believe everything Trump says. He built the wall, and then she goes, and Mexico paid for it. And I said, no, they didn't pay
No, they
for
didn't.
it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the
That's
world we
exactly
live in,
right.
and we can only tell
Um,
people the right things.
you're right. Here's just a little tip for you. If you want to continue to join lives, I would give yourself a username. Because oftentimes what ends up happening is that people will see, like I took a chance when I say username and a bunch of numbers. So give yourself a username. I think that will
Okay, here's
make
the
it more
problem.
personal for you.
I have a username on my thing, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden it gave me a number. I used to have my username. I don't know how to get rid of the number.
You can change it. You can go into your profile when it says edit profile, and it'll give you a couple of tips in there. It's pretty simple. Just make sure you
Okay.
save it.
All right.
Just a little, just a little tip.
Well, I had it
Wrong
in
one.
there and it was my name before, and now all of a sudden it's not my name. So I don't know. But thank you so very much.
My
I
phone.
appreciate it. And thank you for everything you do. I listen to you all the time, especially in the summer when I'm riding my bike. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. That's do I have the right one here? I needed a new charger and I had to rely on my child. Let's see if she hooked me up. She did. So, what? Thank you, friend. Love you too. Um, yeah. Anywho, I think Anthony got busy here. He's blowing me off. It's all good. He left me for somebody else. Trying to bring you. There you are. Killian, how are you tonight? Hi, Killian. How are
A
you?
little bit of a bad connection. Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. What's on your mind tonight?
Good work, my friend. I'm good. How are you, sir?
I am good. What's on your mind?
Got a little bit of a bad connection for a minute. Just give me a sec.
Okay. I can hear you.
You there, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right. So I live in a red state, and of course I'm a Democrat in a red state. And seeing it firsthand, the things that I see here, man, it's just like I heard you talking before with the other lady about, it's almost like brainwashing to the things that they believe here, and it's scary at this point to see where things are going. Like, and I'm 31, growing up in all this, like, it's just. I don't even know what to think about it these days, my friend. It's almost like brainwashing, seeing these people, the way they talk, the way they act. I do part-time Uber driving on the side when I'm not overseas working private security, and like I'm just shocked at some of the things I'm seeing these people say, the people I pick up. I thought about even starting a show about it just because it's almost like it's horrifying, to be honest, my friend, to see the way these people think and what they're saying. These are our everyday people that that are voting every day and the things they're doing. So it's just shocking, my friend.
Yeah, I mean it's beyond shocking. It's actually scary. But part of the conversation, the reason that we're having these conversations is because of that.
Well, what are your thoughts on what's coming up in this election? Do you think there's a chance that he's actually going to win? I mean, it's a scary thought for me. I have a house in Japan, and honestly, at this point, if he does, I really don't want to be in this country anymore, the way things are going. Like, it's just, the things I'm seeing here, like, I mean, this where I live at, I'm not going to say the state, but where I live at is, I mean, I'm not going to lie, the KKK was created about 45 minutes from where I live at. They were already racist. They were already very, like, not friendly people, but since he was elected, I've watched them become more openly racist, more openly ignorant, spouting out the craziest things that you wouldn't believe. And it's just, you try to argue with them, you try to talk sense into them, but there's no talking sense into a brick wall, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I will never say never. Somebody asked earlier, I'll never say never in regards to Trump winning, but I look at the math. I don't look at polls. Candidate polls this far from an election, they've been proven that they're just inaccurate. Quite frankly, polling is an industry. So people who do it generally do it so that they can manipulate the voters and convince people to continue to watch their mainstream media of choice. You got to look at it this way. Republicans to win an election, we know, first of all, that they've only won one popular vote since 1998. Which already tells you that their policies and lack thereof are just not popular. Republicans to win in our country, they need to have Republicans turn out, and they need independent voters. So Trump's got to gain voters from 2020, and he's done nothing but lose voters. So again, the Republican Party wants to lose another election. Trump will be their nominee. I think head-to-head, Nikki Haley's got a pretty good shot of beating Joe Biden. But the Republicans they're in bed with Trump, and they can't let it go.
I think they've sewed themselves in bed with him. They can't get away from him. They've put all their eggs in one basket, I guess you could say, and now they've created a monster that they're stuck with, which in this case it's good for us in that case, because do the numbers, you think that he can't go head to head with Biden at this point? Do you think he's going to lose?
I don't think. Again, looking at the math, I'll never say never, but I don't even think he'll get 60 million votes compared to what he got the last time, quite frankly.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better, to be honest.
Well, it's only my opinion. That's only my opinion. But again, if you look, there's all kinds of things you have to look at. You've got to look at voter turnout. You've got to look on the fact that the Democrats are going to be running on women's reproductive health care, and they're going to be running on human rights. And we saw what happens when you run on abortion in red states. Voters turn out. Even Republicans and independents and conservatives say, I don't want the government telling me what to do with my body. So those are all factors that weigh into people's decisions when it comes to vote for a president.
Well, I've lived overseas, and the thing is, nobody should tell anybody what to do with their body. A woman should have the right to an abortion. A woman should have a right to do whatever she wants. We have a group of people trying to tell other people what they can't do. It's never good. And that's the issue. Is what's scary is to see the power they've gained now that they have two justices that Trump appointed on the Supreme Court. They reversed Roe v. Wade. I mean, I feel like we're going back to the dark ages. I've lived in Germany, Switzerland, Turkey, Japan. I've lived all over the world. And I mean, the way that they look at us right now is just like, I literally get, I'm sorry by people sometimes when I'm walking in the streets when I'm overseas. They're like, I'm so sorry. Because it's just like, it's shocking. But I hope that we gain some sense. And I feel like from what you're saying, maybe we will, the country will gain some sense and actually vote in the right direction and we can get back on track. Because I feel like we're so far off track to where we should be. Our founding fathers are probably rolling over in their graves, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think. I mean, if you think about the the beauty that is our democracy, and I think it's idolized around the world, and I don't think that they would have ever been able to predict the Donald Trump era. And you're right; they're probably flipping over in their graves. You're probably right about that.
It's a madness, my friend.
It is.
I just started watching your show 10 minutes ago, but I'm gonna start following you more. I really enjoyed listening to you talk earlier, and honestly, I'd love to be on the show more often, man. I'd love to talk and go on your lives more often.
I appreciate that. I just followed you back. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate you, my friend. Well, I'll keep listening. Would love to keep talking some other time, but I have to head into work now. But thank you for the time, my friend.
You got it. Thank you, Killian. Have a good night. Be well.
You too. Take care, son.
Take care. Yeah, I mean, again, the perspectives are, and I appreciate everybody's perspectives on that. And look, never going to say never. I'm sorry, I'm looking for something. I'm never going to say never, but the math is just not there. The math ain't mathin'. We know that there are some indicators, especially, first of all, you have a big advantage as the incumbent, a big advantage. Biden and Trump's unfavorables are about the same currently, and their favorables are about the same. So that automatically gives an advantage to the incumbent. The economy is doing well, as much as MAGA doesn't want to believe it. Stock market's up, S&P 500's up, NASDAQ's breaking records, the Dow's breaking records. We've got low inflation. Inflation's coming down. We've got low unemployment. We've got massive GDP growth. We've got massive investments in infrastructure. All those things are economic indicators. We've got some movement on the border. So we've got, the Biden campaign and Democrats across the country are going to run on preserving democracy, right? You're going to run on taking the rights away from women. You're going to run on the attacks on the trans community. Just recently in Ohio, they're going to pass a bill that's going to criminalize. Nobody under 18 can even have a conversation with a therapist about gender transition. It's just disgusting and despicable. Things like that. Those are all losing topics for the right. Losing topics. And they know that, which is why they want to throw as much, red meat towards the border as possible. And even still, it won't matter. This election, in my estimation, is going to be the end of the modern day Republican Party because they are going to get destroyed. Democrats are going to win back the House, retain the Senate, and keep the White House. Game over. And look, I don't want a uniparty. I think it's dangerous. I do not want a uniparty. But currently, there's only one functioning political party in our country, and that's the Democrats. As imperfect as they are, and they are imperfect, no doubt about it. I want them to be more progressive. I want them to do more. I want them to pass legislation that gets money out of politics, ban lobbying, overturn Citizens United, consider restructuring the Supreme Court, introduce ethics codes, talk about election reform, talk about what's the term I'm looking for? Term limits, that kind of stuff. Those are the kinds of things that I want. But we can't get there. We cannot get there unless we vote out the cancer. I have to cut a little bit early tonight, unexpectedly, but it's been a great evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. By the way, friends, your boy started a YouTube channel, and the link is in my bio, and I'll be uploading our live broadcasts up to YouTube. So tonight's will probably be on tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. I'll put it up sometime whenever I get to it, and I'll do that pretty regularly. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that. So again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for this awesome engagement. I appreciate all of you. If you're not registered to vote, please do. There are primaries coming up. Please go to your state's website. It's usually the Secretary of State's office, and they can tell you where your polling location is. They can tell you if you're registered to vote or not. They can tell you what times your voting locations are open. Democracy is a spectator sport. Thank you, friends. Have a great night.